Can you guys hear my dog snoring behind me? That's so adorable. This has been my favorite editing dungeon position, just sitting on the floor next to the couch. Not on the couch, but next to it, while my dog sleeps on the couch. Because that's how much I love him, and I'd rather him take up the entire couch than me actually sit on it. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So remember how I said this was gonna be a 3-part series? Well, welcome to part 4, is all I can say. This is 2-day-old coffee, and it's delicious. I put cream in it, by the way. It's a rare occurrence for me. I'm always so off track with these recordings that I have to have notes, and I usually have my sticky notes, but I don't know where my sticky notes are, so we're using my phone. So why have I decided to make this a part 4? Well, this was a very last minute decision. I mean, so was splitting the video into 3 parts, so we're just kind of doing whatever we want on the channel at this point. For those tuning in just with this video, you don't have to have watched the previous 3 parts. I mean, it's like 6 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. Basically, we have the goal to review every single Disney Channel original movie, and we have currently reviewed 111 specifically. Movie 111 was the remake of the first ever DCOM under wraps. Now, it's quite poetic that the first DCOM is under wraps and then the final DCOM is under wraps, right? Well, that's only if I, push my own personal narrative onto the whole thing, which is kind of what I've been doing with this whole video anyways. Everyone has their own personal narrative that they're pushing with a video. It's not like I'm doing an objective documentary here, and even if I was doing a documentary, I feel like there's no possible way to make it objective. That's its own rant, however. Because famously, what is a Disney Channel original movie is very vague and does not really have a set definition. Whoever's doing this ranking themselves kind of has to set their own definition. I just saw myself in the viewfinder. It looks like I have a bruised knuckle. This is eyeshadow. When I put the eyeshadow on, I pat some of it off on my hand. If I were to have tried to do this before the year 2016, then I probably would have included the movie Northern Lights. Because technically, any movie that was made by the Disney Channel that aired after 1997 is considered a Disney Channel original movie. I had a comment asking about previous movies that happened before 1997 and why I didn't review those movies. That's because those are called Disney premiere films and they're a different genre of Disney Channel movie. That's just because Disney Channel was a premium only cable service, and in 1997 they became free with most cable packages. And so that's when the DCOM was born. So technically Northern Lights should be a DCOM. However, in 2016, when Disney Channel aired every single Disney Channel original movie leading up to 100th DCOM, they booted out Northern Lights and they included Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure. Hence why I call this the Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure Clause. The Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure Clause dictates that if a DCOM technically isn't made by Disney Channel, but Disney Channel says it's a DCOM, then I'm going to review it. And that's very important to understand when talking about the next few films on this list. Well, Christmas Again, not really. Christmas Again should technically count, but I don't think it does. Let me explain. In my opinion, you can fully disagree with me on this, and I think many probably do, but also I don't think many do either. In my opinion, if a movie airs on Disney Plus first, then it should not be considered a Disney Channel made movie. It was made for Disney Plus, and they just later aired it on Disney Channel. And many movies made by Disney were not made by Disney Channel, but yet aired on Disney Channel. Famously, I've been mentioning them throughout all of the previous parts, specifically movies like Sky High, High School Musical 3, because that was released theatrically, that was not made for Disney Channel, the Lizzie McGuire movie, Hannah Montana the movie, the list goes on. So I find no reason to review those movies as Disney Channel original movies because they're made with a completely different audience in mind, even if the original fan base was Disney Channel fans, people who watched Disney Channel. So why am I talking about the next few movies if that applies? Well, that's because Disney Channel is advertising them as Disney Channel original movies. Famously, movies like High School Musical 3 and 16 Wishes were not advertised as Disney Channel original movies. If you go back and find archives of advertisements, they do not have the famous Disney Channel original movie logo that they created. So for the next 9 films, is it 9? whatever, I don't care. For the next few movies we have to talk about, the Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure clause is going to be put into place. Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure is the first movie that is this situation because it is a made-for-DVD movie. So it was not made for Disney Channel, but yet in retrospect, Disney Channel advertised it as a Disney Channel original movie. They most likely just wanted to include it and thought no one would care if they booted out Northern Lights, but a lot of people cared. It was kind of a big thing that people talked about, like, why did you boot out Northern Lights? And actually, even post 2016, Northern Lights was included on the Wikipedia page of Disney Channel original movies as a Disney Channel original movie. It wasn't only until maybe a few years ago that it got scooched up to the Disney Premiere Films section, which segues me to my other point, which is that I'm obsessed with the Disney Channel original movies Wikipedia page. Like, I literally look at it every single day. Part of me doesn't even want to end the series because that means I have to stop looking at the Wikipedia page for DCOMs, which is something I don't want to do because I find it so fascinating. I've been working on this video for so long that I've seen the Disney Channel original movies Wikipedia page change like 5 times. Nowadays, some of the movies, but not all of them, but some of the movies that we're going to be talking about on this list are listed as Disney original films or Disney original movies, I can't remember. This is a very likely thing. That's because that is what you see at the beginning of each movie. Previously, at the beginning of each movie, it would say Disney Channel original movie at the bottom. And for some of the most recent movies that we're talking about, it still says that. Famously, Under Wraps and Under Wraps 2, that's what it says. But for other movies, it says Disney original movie. And my theory is that they just chopped out the word channel because, like, who's watching Disney Channel anymore? I mean, I know some people are, like, obviously some people are, but I did the research. And you know how many people it is? 300,000. It used to be 3 million here, people. For around 2 years, I guess the Disney Channel succumbed to the changing times and didn't bother actually airing their DCOMs on the Disney Channel and agreed with me that they're no longer DCOMs. They waited months until after they aired on Disney Plus to then air on the Disney Channel, like any other old regular movie would. But with the release of Zombies 4, they actually did air it on Disney Channel first and then called it a DCOM, which they did not do for all of the other movies in the past 2 years. So if you really want to exclude the Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure clause for your watch through, which you shouldn't do because it's going to ruin your brain, but if you do, you need to include Northern Lights and exclude Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure and Zombies 3 to really make it airtight and ignore Disney Channel's marketing ploys. That is, if you follow the notion that I've set forth, which is that a movie is purely a DCOM if it aired on Disney Channel first. But you can't deny that these movies aren't successful, but they're successful on Disney Plus. So I have personally controversially decided to create a new era of sorts, and mainly the reason why I did this back in the day, back when I first started sketching out the plan for this video in like 2022 or something, I did that because I truly thought that we were going to stay in the item age forever, but no, we actually have a new era. We have the Reflection era. It started in February of 2025. So yes, a new Disney Channel era happened while I was making this video. Of course it did. I'm going to explain that a little bit later on in the video. So I didn't think it would be a problem if I just like created my own era, which I was calling the Disney Plus era. And that's because all of these movies are basically Disney Plus movies that we're all just pretending are DCOMs. And I think there's a reason why we're pretending that they're DCOMs or why Disney is telling us that these are DCOMs, and that's because of legacy. The term Disney Channel original movie, DCOM, is very, very well renowned. People associate DCOMs with good times because of their nostalgia. So if you were to associate these newer movies with this lasting genre of film, then it entitles people to want to pay more attention to them, maybe? I'm gonna bring up the movie Chang Can Dunk a little bit later on too, which is like a perfectly fine rated G Disney Plus movie. So why is that not considered a DCOM but other ones are? I'll get into it later. But it seems like the creators behind these movies and Disney as a corporation wants this select group of films to be associated with the legacy and kind of be propped up with the rest of the DCOMs. It's kind of like when a lesser Disney princess gets coronated into the Disney princess line. So when you buy that massive thing with all of the princess dolls in it, you can like hawk some of the ones that no one really cares about along with them. Like everyone's gonna want a Rapunzel doll or a Cinderella doll or a Mulan doll, but how many people are gonna want oh no, that's embarrassing. I can't even remember her name. Raya from the Dragon movie. Is anyone gonna want a Raya doll? Well, you might as well just get her because she's in the pack with Snow White and stuff, right? That's kind of what these next movies give off a vibe of. However, even though I may be coming across as kind of negative when it comes to all of these movies, I really don't want people to assume that I'm going in wanting to hate these movies. I have actually been very, very excited to watch the next group of films we have to watch. Because in the kind of circles that I run in, which are very fandom heavy, I'm a Tumblr user, y'all already know this. I see a lot of positive, things being talked about with these movies. And so that kind of inclines me to want to be nicer and kind of see the magic that a lot of people who I am neutrals with on the internet and stuff also see in these films. So I really am going into every single movie wanting to like it. I have no reason to not like them because I'm just gonna get a bunch of angry comments by people saying, how dare you don't like this thing that I love? Trust me, I've seen what y'all have to say about Xenon. But also I have to be honest, I'm not gonna say I like a movie when I really don't. Hence my Xenon rant. If I knew that I was gonna get so much hate for not liking Xenon, maybe I would have pretended I liked it, I don't know. So yes, I denounce a new era, a personal era. This has nothing to do with the actual Disney Channel fans or anything. But I denounce this as the Disney Plus era. And I jokingly wanted to start this era with the movie Christmas Again, specifically because technically, it aired on Disney Plus first, as in it aired on Disney Plus the same day that it first ever aired on Disney Channel. And that is what I denounce as a differing thing from the rest of the movies. Technically, if you want to be the most technical, Zombies 3 should actually be the first movie in this era because it full on aired weeks before it aired on Disney Channel. And to me that matters. It matters in the same way that it matters for Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure, for fucking Radio Rebel, for all of those other movies. That's why it matters to me. So yeah, all of these movies fit under the Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure clause. And if you ever want to do this thing on your own, which you shouldn't because it'll break your brain, but if you ever want to do this and you don't want to apply the Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure clause, then you have a good 11 movies out of 120 that you don't have to watch. And you could just say that the Disney Channel original movie just doesn't exist anymore, that it's over, that it's dead, and it ended with the Under Wraps remake. If you're gonna follow my rules. If not, then you can say it ends with Christmas Again. But see, that's boring and that doesn't feel thematically, conclusive, which is why I did that whole bit at the end of the previous video. This very, very long-winded rant aside, we don't have many more films to review. I'm sorry if this feels like a very short, belated final part of this big epic saga where each part was longer than the previous. This is definitely gonna be shorter. I'm not gonna have any intermissions either. I hope you guys enjoyed those, by the way, because I had a lot of fun making them. And I'm so sorry I had to take a somewhat belated, almost break in between each part. I did not think this was gonna take that long. Oh, my boy. You're comfortable like that? I really didn't plan on this taking this long. I genuinely thought I was gonna get all of this out in December. And I mean, most of this was finished in December, but I just decided to, take a break, breathe a little bit, and maybe I breathed a little bit too much. So I'm gonna get back to releasing videos faster. I'm about 6 months behind on my schedule that I set for myself. I mainly only set schedules because they just help me feel good and keep me sane as I'm working on these things. I'm not super beholden to the schedule because, I am a smaller YouTuber and this isn't the stakes aren't that high for me yet. But yeah, according to my schedule I set for myself at the beginning of the year or around a year ago, I'm 6 months behind. So would you guys be okay if I attempted to upload videos very, very frequently? After taking 3 months off, if I just start rapidly, uploading videos. Either way, more videos are going to be coming out a lot faster, I promise. And with that, let's go talk about a Christmas movie in the middle of fucking July. See you on the other side. My sweet little honey poo poo kins with your big teeth.
Wake up. Ethan! Ethan!
Christmas Again gave me pure existential dread, and not the good kind I could expect from any self-respecting Groundhog's Day style movie plot. Yeah, this is essentially a full-length version of that Disney Christmas animated movie short with Huey, Louie, Dewey, and Donald Duck, except much worse. Christmas Again follows Rowena and her family, and she's a girl who has had a pretty bad Christmas, who then makes a wish to incognito Santa Claus to do Christmas over again, and she gets her wish. Over and over again. I don't know, this movie is just overstuffed with a bunch of junk that makes the entire thing feel pointless and overblown. Rose's parents are split, and part of what makes this Christmas so stinky for her is the fact that her new younger stepbrother is a really big nuisance to her, in one of those realistic ways where you seem like an asshole for being annoyed with him in the first place. Like, they send him to wake Ro up, and he scares her awake, which causes her to spill juice over her older sister's laptop and break her favorite nutcracker decoration. But if she were to get mad at him, everyone would just look at her as if she's an asshole. Which they do. Rose's dad accidentally switches the name tags on the gift, so her stepbrother ends up getting her gift, and they all think it's too awkward to take it away from him, so he just gets to keep it, which is pretty messed up. I guess the lesson was that Rowena just needed to be nicer to her new stepbro, and then he wouldn't be disturbing her as much. But of course, at the end, when she finally embraces everyone and decides to, have a good attitude about things, everything goes to normal. But that's only because she knows what's going to happen, because she's lived it like 100 times over. So she knows how to prevent those things, and that's the only way she really gets to have a happy Christmas at the end of the day. So I don't really see any lesson applying. They try to shoehorn this very generic and random Christmas Carol reference, like she was this really bad person who needed to go through this life-altering situation to become a better person. But it's like, I think she's 13 or something in this movie. She's just being a normal bratty teen, and honestly, people are being really mean to her, so I don't blame her. In the very beginning of the movie, we learn that she wants to do the same Christmas activities that their family did years ago, and her mom tells her she needs to move on and create new memories. But then that's dropped for the stepbro stuff along with a bunch of other junk, and then randomly halfway through the movie, it's now time for her to try and get her divorced parents back together. I really feel like this movie is just so jumbled and confused on what it wants to be. And it has that high gloss of streaming service movie that I'm not really vibing with personally right now in time. And it's not campy enough for me to enjoy it as a silly Christmas movie. Y'all already know that my standards lower drastically when it comes to holiday films, and this is still not up to par. So I wouldn't recommend you watch it.
Like, all right, can we go now? I mean, after I wash my hands, of course.
Okay, I think Zombies 3 is my favorite of the Zombies trilogy, or I guess Zombies Quartet now. Even though I'm really not vibing with the whole analogy that they've been trying to go for all of these movies, they've toned it down enough to where I can handle it somewhat, and also the story and plot is just a lot more cohesive. Zombies 3 follows our normal cast of characters as they are applying for colleges during their senior year and getting ready for the brand new football season. That is until an alien spaceship that was hinted in the previous movie now lands on Earth. The spaceship is voiced by RuPaul because she's Mother. At first, everyone's concerned and scared of these new extraterrestrials, but they say that they're only here to find a map that should lead to their new home planet because their previous home planet was destroyed by global warming or something, I don't know. To try and find the map, they join the high school and pretend that they're interested in a cheer competition that's happening. And after they join the classes, they start rising in the ranks and outperforming all of the other students in the school. This is clearly supposed to be commentary on the model minority stereotype, and this is very problematic because it implies that these people are just more inherently smarter than everyone else, which makes no sense. We all know that the model minority stereotype exists because minorities and immigrants specifically work extra hard to overprove themselves so they'll be seen as the right minorities. Anyways, race relations 101 aside, I actually didn't mind the plot because it flowed very easily. Zed gets something to actually do in this movie. I feel like in the second movie he was doing nothing but trying to stop everything from happening, which I found quite boring. But in this movie, he is actively trying to get into college because if he gets into college, that means it's very likely that all of the other zombies and werewolves and etc. can also get into college. So he's feeling that pressure to excel. He even has a whole song called Exceptional Zed, which is a really cute song, and it's nice to see the whole school and Olive Seabook rally around him. But again, this idea that he needs to be exceptional to be seen as worthy is very annoying. I appreciate them giving something interesting for Addison to do as well. We finally learn what her origin is as a person and why she has her stark white hair. It's because she's 1/4 alien. Her grandmother was an alien, and she put the coordinates in Addison or something like that. But there actually are no coordinates, they're just supposed to learn from Addison that Earth is actually their real true home. So it was really nice to see her have a full character arc because she is a very nice character, and I do think she is the best part of these movies. As a whole, I think the structure of this film is what really sold me on it the most, but at the end of the day, it's still a movie in the Zombies franchise. I really wanted to like these movies. I can 100% see the appeal, but yeah, it's not something I'm ever gonna really apply to my own life, and it's not really something I derive a lot of joy from, except for Bucky still. He's still the best character in the whole franchise.
He actually chose death over a life without love. That's so romantic.
Probably got less romantic when they bottled up his organs.
Okay, Under Wraps 2 sucked eggs, y'all. I honestly can't tell if I think it's worse than the first one. When it comes to general vibes, I think both of these movies are on the same equal playing field of bad, but I think I actively hate Under Wraps 2 more because of how pointless it really does feel. Under Wraps 2 follows our main trio of characters 1 year later, and a brand new evil mummy has come to life. There was apparently some sort of crazy love triangle happening in ancient Egypt, and this evil mummy wanted to date the female mummy that we see at the end of the first movie, who ended up being with our main character, Mummy Henry. Is that his name? Henry? So they now have to defeat this new evil mummy, and they resurrect the other mummies so that they can, escape from him. And this is all happening in the next town over because Amy's father is getting remarried. So this is all taking place on Halloween night at a Halloween-themed wedding. I think the vibes were really, really great for the setting. I thought that was a very nice touch. Everything being so Halloween-themed and very cutesy, I really quite liked that. But yeah, none of the jokes landed. All of the storytelling was so painfully generic. Everything is told to you like you're a stupid little baby. I think that's the thing I dislike about these movies the most. Everything is so straightforward. Nothing is left up to interpretation. There's no unique character dynamics to learn from the outside, from watching the characters interact with each other. The dialogue is the most bare bones and plain that it ever could be. And it honestly feels like these movies were written for people to watch while they scrolled on TikTok. I like all of the main characters. I think their acting is just fine, but the material they're being given is just absolutely horrendous. Also, I don't find the mummy antics to be that fun, although they do tend to reduce them to a less nauseating degree. I feel like in a lot of those 90s movies, they were so much slower paced that a lot of the mummy antics just went on for way too long. Gilbert and Amy are now besties because they work on the school newspaper together, and Marshall feels a little bit left out, and they resolve that in a very boring way, but that's something, I guess. I don't know, I wouldn't recommend this movie. As pointless as I thought the first movie was for a remake, this one is even more pointless as a sequel. Because they really don't have anything to say. They have no reason to be making this movie other than we can. There was a cameo of one of the characters from the original Under Wraps movie, but he's not playing the same character that he did in the original movie, so whatever.
You guys hooked up for the fly off to the moon dance yet? Know any honeys with a hot sister or smoking second cousin?
This guy's going stag. Gotta keep my options open,
Loser.
We're finally getting some controversy and some spice back into the DCOM discourse, because everything has just been generically boring so far, in my opinion. The Prom Pact is the first and probably only TV-14 DCOM. That's because this was originally made to be a Disney Plus film until pretty much last minute they decided to redirect the marketing towards being a DCOM. I wonder if this movie got caught up in the lawsuit. I think we're going to mention that later on in the video, however. I say that they got the DCOM rebrand, but also at the same time, they seem to have changed the name for the DCOM for these next 2 years and have called them Disney Original Movies. It's quite complicated. I don't really know how to explain it that well. But just know that for the next few movies or so, the lines have been blurred so much that it doesn't even seem like there's a line anymore between Disney Plus movie and DCOM. And I think this movie is a good example of that because it basically carries nothing of the original DCOM energy with it. Now, is that a good thing? I guess we'll find out. Prom Pact follows the characters of Mandy and Ben, who are high school senior best friends. Mandy is an excellent student who is dedicated to going to Harvard, and she needs a letter of recommendation that is so excellent to get off the wait list. Ben is a silly little guy who is dejected by the whole prom thing, so the two of them make a prom pact to go to the prom with each other as friends. But things get complicated when other characters come into the mix. Mandy decides to pursue the attention of Graham Lansing, whose father is like governor or something. He's a dumb jock, and she thinks that if she tutors him, then that she can get closer to his father, and his father will write her a really great letter of recommendation. They kind of fall for each other, whatever. I'm not getting cringy fanfiction Wattpad vibes from these two of like good girl and bad boy, so I'm not that invested. Meanwhile, Ben ends up hanging out with this girl named LaToya, who is a popular cheerleader. And of course, Mandy and Ben have a third act falling out point because Mandy is starting to prioritize her relationship with Graham, and she doesn't know if it's because she's trying to get that recommendation letter or if it's because she's actually falling for him. And LaToya is suspicious of Ben because he is really close to Mandy, even though they just have strictly friend vibes. So LaToya is mad when Ben seems to be picking Mandy over her. Everyone ends up winning in the end. It's a pretty generic rom-com style high school movie. Now y'all know that I'm a high school movie expert, so when I heard about this movie and how it was possibly a Love Square movie, I was quite intrigued, but it's not really selling it for me. I'm not getting the special sauce that this movie is supposed to be giving to me. I think if they maybe would have leaned way more into the whole Love Square thing, then I would have been having a lot more fun, but it really just seems to be one-sided, this whole dynamic. Like, the whole joy of these movies is that they're extremely messy, and I didn't feel like they were messy enough. Although, you know, we got a little bit at least. I will give the movie some credit for that. I'm pretty underwhelmed by this film, which is a shame because I really did want to like it. I like Peyton Lee a lot, but I do not like Milo Manheim. He's not selling me as like the modern day Zac Efron or whatever. I guess I'd recommend you watch this movie because I feel like this would work for a lot of people, but yeah, it's just not working for me.
Dude, your nails are red. Yours are pink. I feel so violated.
The Slumber Party is another controversial decom, and I think that's because it is basically a parody of The Hangover. Now, as y'all know, this isn't the first time that Disney Channel has done something like this. Radio Rebel is a good example to a certain degree, where they pick a rated R movie that is not at all safe for kids, and they basically decide to remake it as a kids-friendly thing, like do a Kids Bop version of that movie, and to cover their tracks, they pick a random book and say that it's actually an adaptation of that book. So we have another example of that here with The Slumber Party, or as I keep accidentally calling it in all of my videos, The Sleepover, because that sounds a lot like The Hangover. So yeah, it's just the plot of The Hangover. A group of teen girls get together the night before one of the girls' parents' wedding, and they lose the girl. So they go on a crazy romp of adventures to try and find her, when the whole time she was in the house. Yeah, I think the Zeke and Luther episode was a better version of this. But that's because I'm intensely biased towards Zeke and Luther. I do think this is kind of a cute kids movie. If you're somebody who has Disney Plus open and you need something to just fill the void for a child because you're babysitting or whatever, this might be a good movie to throw on. All the kid actors are very cute and the vibes are fine. They're not super rancid like some of these other Disney Plus, aka DCOM movies have been. But I don't know, there really just isn't anything that's selling me on these movies all that much, and that makes me feel bad because I think that there's probably something here that could be enjoyable. I feel like you have to naturally come across whimsy, not manufacture it in a factory or something. So through really, really leaning into the absurdity, I think they could have done it, but they kind of only went halfway there with it. I feel really bad about being upset about these string of movies because, like, I've never been this negative in a whole chunk before, and I really did not want to believe that the Disney Channel had actually like fallen off as much as, you know, everyone says it has been. But really, how else am I supposed to feel when these kinds of movies are just not really living up to par to the other ones, even the ones that I didn't even like that much? So I'm sorry to The Slumber Party, but I didn't enjoy it that much. And I really wanted to, man. I really wanted to enjoy these last two movies.
Hey, relax. I know a way to get it back. When Santa comes...
Rory, shut up. You know the rules about plans involving Santa.
So I have a special relationship with the Naughty Nine. This was the first movie in a literal decade, I'm pretty sure, that I actually got to watch live premiere on Disney Channel. This movie came out Thanksgiving week, and I was at my aunt's house, and she's one of the only people who I know still who has cable television. So I asked if we could watch the premiere of this movie, and she said yes. And it ended up being an okay choice because I had a lot of my baby cousins running around. I mean, basically none of them seemed to watch the movie, and they aired the movie Ratatouille before this one, and everyone seemed to be more engaged with that film than this one, but I don't want to judge the movie purely based off of the reaction of everyone in the room, because we weren't there to watch the movie, we were there to talk and play and stuff, so they were more focused on other tasks. Me and my dad, however, we were locked in. The Naughty Nine follows a group of 9 kids who have all been put on the naughty list, and so they go to the North Pole and rig a heist to try and take themselves off the naughty list. That is a very cute and irreverent plot idea, and I'm surprised it hasn't been done before. Well, I mean, it definitely has been, but like with this many characters, I guess. Through their hijinks and adventures, they learn about the real meaning of Christmas and all that junk. This is a perfectly fine generic Christmas movie. If you're like really adamant to watching all of the Disney Channel Christmas movies one Christmas season, this one's not gonna bother you in a way that like Christmas Again might. I think it was smart at a certain point to kind of split up the kids so we got to experience each character more, because if they were all clumped together as a group of 9, it would be very easy for some of the characters to just like fall to the wayside. But as far as I remember, they all had a pretty decent amount of screen time, so there's something. I don't know what else I have to say about the Naughty Nine. The thing about these streaming service movies specifically is that they're generic in a new way that is like less interesting to talk about. Like, I would argue some of the other generic movies that I just kind of thought were slop that you added onto the pile were at least somewhat interesting to talk about because they had like, you know, things going on. A lot of the time they had too many things going on. But now everything just feels very sterile and not really creative. I can at least say that some of the other movies that I wasn't vibing with as much had an ounce of creativity that just kind of didn't get to be fully realized. But I'm not seeing any of that behind these movies. They feel kind of soulless in a way. I guess I'd recommend it. I don't know, there are so many other Christmas movies I'd recommend over this one, even in this DCOM list. So I guess that says something about this movie, I don't know. Okay, ignore my disheveled appearance, but I'm currently at a family member's house, and they have DirecTV. They have cable. So I'm here checking out what's on the Disney Channel right now, as of, what day is it today? Oops. March 7th, 2025. Okay, there it is on Disney Channel right now, and it just turned 3 o'clock, so that's perfect. So we got Big City Greens, more Big City Greens, more Big City Greens, and then Monsters, Inc. And then we got Studio Go, which is actually I've never heard of this show before. What is this? Or Stu Go, sorry. Okay, so we got Stu Go at 7:30 and 8. It's a Friday night, by the way, so there might not be like the most glamorous stuff. Then we got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. That's a good show. Okay, these look like reruns. And then more Big City Greens. Sorry, I wasn't looking. Just more Big City Greens. And then Primos, which people don't watch, I guess. I've only heard controversy about this. Maybe that's why it's airing at 11 o'clock at night. More Big City Greens. Kif. I saw a few episodes of Kif. It was kind of cute. That's at 2 in the morning. And then we got the children's programming with Bluey. Yes, Spidey and His Amazing Friends. Super Kitties. More Bluey. And then back to Big City Greens. And Stugo. And then more Moon Girl. And Frozen 2. Not a lot of live action sitcoms here, are there? And I understand this is Saturday morning, so you know. This is Saturday, so that's more likely to play cartoons, but yeah, just like look at all these Big City Greens. These are all like old episodes of Big City Greens. So we've done a full 24 hours now. So when I say that Big City Greens is like Disney Channel's SpongeBob, I mean that in more ways than one. Also, if you were wondering what was playing while I was looking through all those channels, it was one of those propaganda movies or TV shows called The Rookie. I can finally watch what I've been wanting to watch all day today.
When I first got my powers, I totally couldn't deal. I got so mad once I wanted to fight the moon. But I didn't. The moon's safe. For now.
We're finally at a movie that I've been kind of anticipating throughout this entire watch through, and that is Big City Greens, the movie Spacecation. Big City Greens seems to be the most recent big success story for Disney Channel. It seems to be the only thing that has actually made them money or has been relevant enough for them to beat into the ground. I had never seen it or literally heard anything about it, and that's probably just because it's a show for babies, which is weird because I would argue that Big City Greens should be on the same level as like Phineas and Ferb, and I used to hear people talking about that show all the time even though I didn't watch it. So what I kind of picked up from the show by watching this movie is that it's basically just like the Beverly Hillbillies by way of SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't know if that's a valid thing to say, but that's kind of what I was picking up on. Big City Greens follows the Greens family as they go on a road trip that is seemingly going to be very boring, but it ends up being a lot more spectacular because they end up going to space. There's hijinks, an asteroid that's going to destroy the world, you know, your basic average everyday stuff. This was a very cute movie. If you've watched the show, this is probably a great little thing to just add on to the entire lore. The energy was a little bit different. It feels a lot more Nickelodeon to a certain degree. I don't really know why. I guess a lot of the animated shows from Disney Channel are just not paced this way. So it at least is something new and fresh for Disney Channel, but it's not exactly original, I guess. If you're ever interested in watching Big City Greens and doing some sort of deep dive or retrospective, you might as well throw this in. I mean, there's no reason to avoid it. But outside of doing this watch through, would I really recommend it? No. Although I'm not gonna trash on it like I think people think I should. I'm genuinely going into all of these movies just really wanting to like them, and this one did the job it was supposed to do. I wasn't expecting anything more from it. They don't need to all be bangers, alright? That's one thing I've learned throughout this 120 movie excursion.
What day is it? What day is it?
Okay, Descendants 4, Rise of Red was bad, y'all. An unreal level of bad. You guys know that I eventually came around on the Descendants franchise. I think the series is good. I like it. I'm not a stan or anything, but I like it a lot more than I like Zombies when it comes to like the new modern musical series that they're doing. But somehow Rise of Red was in a massive, massive downgrade in a way that I wasn't expecting, but also I probably should have had some feeling towards. Because the third movie was such a great conclusion, I had no idea where they were going to go forward. And also, with the tragic death of Cameron Boyce, I then learned that the rest of the cast did not want to make more movies because they thought it would be disrespectful. And the fact that the network went along with it anyways is very upsetting to learn about. So this is basically supposed to be a spin-off, a backdoor pilot, if you will, to a whole new universe of Descendants media. And it just feels so divorced from the Descendants franchise, both from a location and character standpoint. Rise of Red kind of follows Auradon Prep, I don't know, as Uma has become the new headmaster of the school and has decided to allow in the Alice in Wonderland characters come in. Anytime Disney has tried to do spin-off material with Alice in Wonderland characters, it hasn't really gone over that well. But either way, we get Red, who is the daughter of the Queen of Hearts, and the Queen of Hearts is played by Rita Ora. She's fine. And then we get Cinderella's daughter, which is weird because isn't Chad also Cinderella's kid? They clearly only picked Cinderella's daughter because they were able to get the two people from the Whitney Houston Cinderella movie back. And y'all know I love Brandy, so it was nice to see her on my screen. During orientation, the Queen of Hearts ends up, causing a big brouhaha and tries to take over the whole place and tries to kill Brandy, oh my god. The Queen of Hearts is doing this because Cinderella pulled a prank on her at this very, very important ball that happens. So Red decides to use this time machine that she has to go back in time to stop this prank from happening, and Chloe ends up getting tossed in with her. Also, it feels like we got half of a movie. It feels like everything was building up to like this big third act break, and then the movie just ends. So the fan blog discourse has been that they're basically gonna finish this movie in the next one that's already been announced. But I think that's a very bad excuse because all of the other movies had proper endings, so why doesn't this one get one? Also, with Red and Chloe, they're clearly trying to cramp some of Wicked's style because they've gone for the whole red and blue thing, and they even have a song about their unadulterated loathing of each other. Obviously, I ship them. Like, if they don't become a canon relationship in the next movie, I'm boycotting it. Y'all, I'm sitting here editing this, and I had a full-on crash out about this movie, and I didn't even record an official, final conclusion. So, to conclude, this movie is very bad. It blows chunks, and it's really sad that this is how low the Descendants franchise had to stoop, just to get measly amount of viewers. It's also a very bad sign for what Disney Channel is going to be valuing in the future. So anyways, on to the final decom.
Cheerleaders are not normal. They're more evil than us, and we're vampires.
I think Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires has both sold me even more on the franchise as a whole, and also convinced me that the Disney Channel is more desperate than it ever was. This movie really feels like a standalone project that has 15 minutes of actual zombies characters and story, which is definitely on purpose, and I don't like that. Oh, and we're officially back to the Disney Channel original movie titling, by the way. Hope that wasn't too confusing for everybody. So Zombies 4 follows Zed, Addison, Eliza, and Willa as they take a road trip. I thought they were all gonna go to some sort of whimsical summer camp, but apparently they're all going to their separate respective things, and their whole mini arc is that they're supposed to learn to spend more time with each other, which feels a bit hollow because the entire cast has been gutted in half. This is all following their first year of college, and their road trip is quickly crashed by a mysterious energy that is affecting almost all of them. They then walk into a completely different movie with two new supernatural creatures, the vampires and the daywalkers. The lore really makes no sense, honestly, since the vampires don't drink blood, they eat this thing called the blood fruit, and so do the daywalkers, even though they're not supposed to be vampires, but they have flame powers, so they shoot fire out of their hands. Both tribes are separated and hate each other, and they want the final supply of blood fruits. But two star-crossed lovers named Nova, who is a daywalker, and Victor, who is a vampire, help the two groups unite because the two tribes used to get along in a previous lifetime. My biggest issues with this movie is that it's just not a zombies movie. Most of the cast, like I already said, has been gutted and replaced with these new characters, which just gives off overly intense backdoor pilot energy, which is exactly what this movie is at the end of the day. Part of me really wishes that this was just a vampire movie completely divorced from the zombies franchise as a whole. And the Daywalkers were just vampire hunters or something. And the Daywalkers were just vampire hunters or something who had learned firebending powers as a way to fight off the vampires. And that the vampires actually drank blood, because if that was the case, then I think I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more, and I could have been more immersed in the story, instead of having to halt the whole plot just so it can momentarily become a zombies movie again. It concerns me that Disney Channel felt the need to make this a part of the Zombies franchise, instead of making it a standalone movie that could have become the new modern version of this series. Because that must mean that they have no confidence in original stories that are not already tied to existing IP. I guess this is just the state of things we're in right now. With Descendants 5 already being announced and being filmed as I write this part of the script, welcome to modern Disney, I guess. Did I do that right? Oh well, we're just gonna have to deal with Crooked. Just a little bit before recording, before I had put my makeup on, but I was, wearing this outfit, not the hat, sadly. But a little bit before recording, I'm expecting one of my grandmother's friends. My grandmother has passed already, but I've been expecting one of my grandmother's friends to come by to drop something off. And so, I've just been waiting for the doorbell to ring, and where I'm sitting at my desk, which is right over here, I can see a window to my front door, so I can see when someone walks to the front door when I'm sitting here, and I saw what looked like an elderly woman walking up to the front door, and then I heard the doorbell ring, so I was like, shit, she's here. And luckily my dog was already outside barking at them, so I didn't have to chain him up. But I rushed over to the door, and they were already starting to walk away. And so I opened the door and I was like, hey, wait, in a very, very jovial, happy tone. And they were like, oh, hello, we left something for you at the door, bye. And they walked away, and I was like, shit, I like ruined this like interaction, because she was supposed to like come in and have tea with me or something. And she was like she saw one look at me and was like, bye. And so I was confused. And the gate, because I have a door and a gate, I unlocked the door, but I didn't unlock the gate. So I had to go get my keys to unlock the gate. And when I unlocked the gate, a piece of paper like flew out of it, and it was Jehovah's Witness. So I was like, awesome. Usually if somebody who is trying to recruit me into a religion comes to my door, I ignore them. And I'm a bit standoffish because I'm not interested in being recruited to their religion. So I just like unknowingly was like overly nice to Jehovah's Witness. And part of me thinks that like maybe my big scary dog, you guys have seen my dog before, he is a big scary dude. He is of course a cute little love bug and he loves everybody. But you know, when people see him, because he's a German Shepherd Pit Bull mix, when they immediately see him, their first thought is fear. And then he barks really loudly. So he's a good protector, but he's not gonna harm these poor old ladies. At the end, I was thinking as soon as they saw my shirt, they were like, yeah, no, we're not recruiting this person. Good thing you didn't see the back. Can I get some commotion for the back of the shirt? Anyways, on to the point. There was a point to why I'm here and wearing this hat that's slowly giving me a headache. Today, we are going to be attempting to consolidate a Disney Channel timeline of sorts. Because if I edit all of this correctly, this will be happening immediately after the final decom we've reviewed in this video. And for those who don't know, a new Disney Channel era has officially commenced. I thought we were going to be stuck in the item age for eternity because no one cares about the Disney Channel anymore, and I just thought no one would care to like refresh and update all of the bumpers and idents and stuff anymore. Because I would argue that very, very, very little amount of people who actually watch Disney Channel products are not actually watching it on Disney Channel. I mean, you look at the current numbers. Sorry, I keep playing with my ears. Because you look at the current numbers and it's like 300,000 people, which is insane. For like a YouTuber, that's a really good number. If anything, for some YouTubers, like kind of low. But if you're a multimedia conglomerate, like one of the biggest corporations in the entire nation, 300,000 views is probably extremely depressing. The brand new Disney Channel logo, which I'll put on the screen right here, was first introduced on the poster for Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. So it's clear that they were like really banking on this show being successful and kind of maybe rejuvenating the Disney Channel like image a bit, which I think it did. I mean, apparently the show is a huge success. On Disney Channel, that's a big question, but on Disney Plus, most likely 100% for sure. So the brand new Disney Channel theming, which we are calling the Reflection Era because of the way like the logo is reflected on the screen, was really like hinted at during Monstober, again because they introduced the new Disney Channel logo with Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, which aired during Monstober. But it wasn't until officially in February of this year, 2025, that we got a brand new era. Which means, yes, a new era happened in the middle of me making these videos. Isn't that awesome? I didn't want to mention it in part 2, even though I did know about it, because like it would be weird to just kind of like throw that in. Like I had to wait until we got to the current timeline. So while yes, a majority of this video has been done for a while now, all of this new shit that I keep having to add because things are actually updating is causing this sort of like new stuff. So that's why the video might be coming out later than people probably thought, because I keep having to add more shit because new shit keeps happening. And so this kind of complicates the whole Disney Plus era or Disney Plus age thing that I was doing, because it's not really a new era. Like it's kind of like the Reflection era is kind of like an era within the Disney Plus era. So like I'm just gonna try and consolidate it on this board right here. Where's my sticky notes? Oh God, this is not the right sticky note. I'm like a lost child out in the rain if I don't have my sticky notes. Okay, we're gonna be winging it a lot more than I originally thought. Where should I put my new sticky note? Right here? It looks so tiny. Okay, there, I did it. How does it look? Be honest. So I've created my Disney Timeline channel. I forgot to write channel, so I put it at the bottom. How I've divided up the years is in thirds. For some weird reason. It's the only way I feel like it would fit, and also it goes to 2033. I'm future-proofing this thing by at least 10 years. Okay, so according to my notes, if this is correctly, The beginning of the Disney Channel is in 1983. So we have 1983 here. So from 1983 to 1997, we have all of the movies that were made for Disney Channel while they were still a premium-only network. So you had to pay, I think, $45 extra on your normal cable package to get Disney Channel. So these are called the Disney premiere films. I already talked about it at the very, very beginning of the first part. We're not reviewing them here. Maybe one day? I don't know. A lot of these are very obscure and very hard to find, and I feel like no one would actually care to watch a video like that. And there's like also 10 million of them, so I really don't feel the need to watch them. One of the only really interesting things about those movies is that, like, I think originally the Parent Trap movies are from there, and then there's like 3 of them. So from 1983, oh, my marker's drying out already, to 97. So I'm gonna use my ruler. This is what we're gonna call the premiere films age. Because the different eras, which I'll probably add later, those are like eras. And I don't know how history works, but as far as I'm aware, an era is like a moment in time, and then an age is like a larger spanning amount of time. Which is why we call it the item age, because like shit lasted way too long. It was no longer an era, it was an age of items, okay? There, the premiere age. And then next we have the original movies age, which is the DCOMs, which are all the movies I've reviewed for you today. And that is from 97 to 2022. This line is also definitely going to be crooked. There we go. Is that looking concise now? So that means from 2022 onward, it is the Disney Plus age, because all of these movies are technically Disney Plus films, but they're pretending that they're Disney Channel original movies. There's a lot of bureaucracy that I tried to do some research into, but like I don't really understand law and like the real meat and potatoes of like the film and TV industry. So like I don't really think I've properly deciphered everything that's going on. But it seems like Disney's doing a little bit of maybe money laundering? I don't know what the word would be, but some sort of laundering somewhere when it comes to these movies. For example, the 110th DCOM Spin, it was originally conceived as a Disney Plus film, but then somewhere in production they decided to shift it to a Disney Channel original movie, which means that it goes from one sector of, it's supposed to go from one sector of the company to another, which means you use different types of money, different forms of money from one sector to the other. If the movie Spin was actually made with Disney Plus money or Disney Channel original movie money is up to question, because while yes, all of these exist within the company of Disney, they are like subsection companies, so they should have their own pool of money that they create things with, and they should not be like taking money from each other. I think that is where the whole laundering thing comes from. And I do know that Disney Channel was being sued for this exact sort of thing. Specifically, the Disney Channel TV shows, there were 2 of them that were supposed to be Disney Plus shows, but then were secretly scooched over to be Disney Channel shows, which would mean that all of the money that these shows lost because they were not successful and flops, these shows being flops and losing money would only reflect on Disney Channel and not Disney Plus. And this is important because Disney Plus, especially at that time in 2023, when the lawsuit was happening, which was during the writers and actors strike, Disney Plus was desperately trying to prove that it wasn't a failed experiment, because especially around this time, they were apparently just bleeding money. Like, Disney Plus launched in 2019, so in 2020 when the pandemic happened, they had a huge spike in viewership and subscriptions. And they thought the spike was just going to keep going up, but it stagnated, it flatlined. So Disney Plus was really, really trying to prove to its investors and everybody that it wasn't failing, that like it was doing good. And if they had a bunch of television shows that were failing and losing them money, it would only look worse on them. But Disney's been failing for years. We have to blame the fact that streaming services have, removed the entire viewership of cable television. So it makes more sense if a show is a failure for Disney Channel than it does if it's for Disney Plus. So I think they were being sued for that. I don't know if that lawsuit went anywhere. I don't know what happened with that.
Hi everyone, this is me editing in the middle of the night, and there are actually still no updates on this lawsuit that was happening. Basically, every and all articles written on this topic were done in 2023 when this news became public, and pretty much no articles that I could find have been written since. I could only find one article written in February of 2025, and that was from thatparkplace.com, and it does bring this topic to light again, but it doesn't say anything new as far as I'm aware. All of the stuff that I've said about Disney Channel has been speculation on my part. Nothing throughout the entire discussions that these articles have been having about this lawsuit have really brought up Disney Channel in like an important way. It's only really discussing the fact that Disney Plus is a failing venture, it seems like, for Disney. Again, nobody cares about Disney Channel. I'm the only one who does. So that's the only reason why I find this whole lawsuit and situation interesting. Also, this is specifically a lawsuit against Bob Chapek, who is no longer the CEO of Disney and wasn't when the lawsuit came out. He was fired, left in 2022. And previous CEO became CEO once again, Bob Iger, and as far as I'm aware, he is still the Disney CEO right now. So I don't know if that complicates things or not, but either way, I think it's a very fascinating thing because this directly applies to like most of the movies I've talked about in this final section and part of the video. And if any of y'all happen to know more information about this lawsuit, or if I've been tricked in any way and I need to make a on-air retraction, let me know. Anyways. It's literally 3 a.m. and my dog is sick of me yapping. He's trying to sleep.
And I don't know, I'm just gonna draw the line to now, to 2025, just to be safe. I can always extend the line in the next 10 years when that becomes applicable. As you can see, Disney Plus is a very, very current, recent iteration of this whole shebang. There's the Disney Plus age. So there we go. I hope this better visualizes all of the movies that we're, have been talking about and the kind of like history of Disney as a cable network channel. So this is the era when they were just a premium only channel like HBO. This is the entire era that we reviewed and was arguably their most successful era. And this is the era that we're currently in. This is gonna stay on my wall, I guess, for forever. Just right here behind my door, I have my, is it upside down? Oh no, it's right side up. There we go. I have my Babysitter's a Vampire timeline. I really should have, we've recorded us making this, but the footage, like half of it got destroyed, and I don't know what happened to the other half of it, so I don't know if I'll ever post this, but the podcast, we made this timeline. Okay, yeah, that's all.
Here is the whole little mini eras outlined on here. It looks really bad because I just did it real quickly right now in the dark. I'm in the middle of editing and I just thought I would pause and just scribble this on real quick. I'm sorry if it looks horrible. Like I said, I've somewhat future-proofed this, so we'll, go further that way. And if there are any different like eras for these movies, I have no idea. Oh, and actually, in retrospect, I should put like a little like timeline marker like, hey, Disney Plus started now. Okay, maybe I'll do that now. I added that Disney Plus launched in 2019. And then I also put here in 97, no longer a premium cable channel. I figured those were two important things to mention. Both of these happening are literally the only reason why like this even exists. But anyways, there we go. Hello, everybody. I'm feeling a bit low energy right now, and I don't know why. I'm thinking it's because I haven't had any coffee today, and there's a real nagging part of my brain that's like, hey, have a coffee today. And I'm like, no, it's like 8 o'clock at night. So I was gonna make a bigger deal out of this whole segment, but then I realized, you know what? I'm a bit tired. You're tired. We're all tired. So I just thought I'd sit on the couch and we would just do a little casual discussion of the entire ranking. So I figured I would just list out every movie in order, and we shouldn't be taking this official ranking all that seriously. Even looking at the list right now, I'm already kind of like, maybe I should move some things around, but it's gonna take me forever. I'm never gonna film this segment and just get it done if I don't just go with what I've already spent hours and hours and hours doing. Anyways, yes, I'm going to list out my official ranking of every Disney Channel original movie. I'm only going to talk in depth about the bottom 15 and the top 15 because that's all we really care about in the first place. But everything after and before that, I'll just list it in order. Okay, so let's start at the very bottom. My least favorite DCOM has got to be, without a question, Tiger Cruise. Here's the thing about Tiger Cruise, okay? I did come down on it pretty hard for being military propaganda, because that's what it is. And if it was just that, maybe it wouldn't be my least favorite decom. I mean, Cadet Kelly is right there. But it's also just the fact that the movie itself is so bad, and it isn't even just trying to recruit kids into wanting to join the military. I would argue it is also somewhat shaming kids for being upset with the fact that because their parents are in the military, their lives are difficult. I would prefer a movie that was more sympathetic to that kind of situation, and not saying, hey, your parents are doing something important. Like, I think a kid can understand that their parents are doing something important by being in the military already. It's pretty ingrained to most American children at a very young age. I just feel like there should be more compassion and less like, now you gotta join the military too, guys. It's literally because a war was starting. A literal war was starting and happening the same year that this movie came out. And I just think it's pretty disgusting to be like, enlist kids so you can fight in our war. Anyways, that's why I don't like Tiger Cruise.
119.
We have Frenemies. Now, this is just a bad movie. There's really nothing wrong with the stories that are being told. They're just told very, very, very poorly and barely stitched together to make what one might assume could possibly be considered a movie on some sort of alien planet, maybe. I honestly did not think that this was going to be this low, but I mean, I don't really have anything nice to say about it. Each story somehow feels like it drags on for way too long, but is also extremely belated because there's 2 other stories to tell. And then the movie doesn't even end. There's not even an official ending or conclusion. They just have a dance party to a boring, low-quality pop song, and then it just ends. And this movie hasn't even garnered like a fandom or like anybody who really cares about it. I don't hear anybody talking about it. I just think it's a bad time. No need to watch it. Movie 118 is Hounded. This is just not a fun movie. It has that very generic branding of like boring 2000s made-for-TV movie, while also just being an extremely, extremely painful viewing experience. I was extremely shocked at just how low this movie was willing to go just to not even give that satisfying of a conclusion at the end. Genuinely, if you ever go and watch this movie ever, just count how long that this poor character just gets harassed. Like, not a single good thing happens in his life. And he has to actively work extremely hard just to get back to normal. Not even, like, he doesn't even achieve anything special. He just gets the privilege of things going back to normal. Which wasn't even that good to begin with, might I add. I guess you can say the only good thing that really happened was that the horrible headmaster is no longer headmaster and has been demoted. So there's at least something positive there. But overall, I don't think the Van Busens, I don't think they get enough of a punishment, and I don't think the main characters get enough good stuff to justify the fact that this kid's entire childhood home was brutally ripped to shreds by some rabid dog. It's not fun to watch. It's like a horror movie. It's not a funny, quirky, uh-oh, the dog's going crazy sequence. It's just painful. So movie 117 is The Genie Project. Again, I don't understand why in the early 2000s the Disney Channel thought people would enjoy watching brutal animals just destroy a family's life. And it's not even entertaining. That's one thing. It would be one thing if this was like some crazy wildlife documentary type of situation. But no, this is a bland and boring ass film that for some reason just happens to have the most insane plot. That seems to be the case for a lot of the early DComs. It's just like the most wild, cuckoo bananas plot you could think of, executed in the most possible boring way. And I don't have a lot of tolerance for that kind of movie, so. At 116, we have the movie Zapped. I absolutely hate the fact that both of the movies that Zendaya have been in that are DComs were absolute dog shit. Because I like Zendaya as an actress. I think I liked her in Shake It Up. I don't know, I haven't seen that show since it aired, and I only saw like the first 5 episodes of the first season. And I've never seen Casey Undercover. So I don't know if her work on the Disney Channel really holds up over time or not, but what I do know is that I like a lot of the stuff she's done recently. I'm a Zendaya stan, I'm a big fan of hers, which is why it's so disappointing that they only gave her horrible decoms. Zapped has just such a bizarre concept, and it is executed in the worst possible way. I think it'd be funny if maybe everybody was controlled by her like dog app that got electrocuted or whatever. But the fact that it's specifically to boys, I don't know, it just kind of makes me feel very icky. This is a very icky movie. I don't know how else to describe it. And yeah, I'm just not having fun. I'm not having fun. And if I'm not having fun, then what are we even doing here? Speaking of not having fun, movie 115 is The Poof Point. I feel so bad for Taj Mari. Am I pronouncing his name right? I hope I am. Another example of both of the decoms they gave him are just horrible. They're just not a good time. It's so sad because his twin sisters happened to get one of the best decom series, and he got 2 of the worst decoms. The Poof Point is one of those things. Oh, hey, more light. The Poof Point is one of those things where you already feel bad for the kids because they feel like they're being neglected by their parents. And then it gets even worse because their parents almost reached the Poof Point and they just have the worst, most stressful day of their lives. It's not as bad as Hounded because we at least empathize with the parents a little bit, and then they do end up changing in the end. Like, we do see some positive outcome at the very end. But again, it's not that fun of a movie, and I can see some people actually enjoying this, however. Like, everything pretty much after this, I'm like, okay, I kind of see what they were trying to do. I could see some people having a lot of nostalgia for this movie, but again, this movie will only really be like something I could see someone having a positive reflection of if they never go back to rewatch it. Because like, if you like this movie, you remember liking it, watching it growing up, if you go to rewatch it, it's very likely that you're either not gonna like it or you're just gonna be indifferent. It's not gonna like spark any new joy for people in the modern day. And with the fact that there are so many of these decoms, it's kind of sad that a lot of these movies, that's the case. Movie 114 is The Luck of the Irish. What a weird concept, and what a weird execution for an already weird concept. I think it's supposed to be a movie of self-discovery or something, but it ends up just being a mess. Just a mush of a movie. The villain's like kind of interesting, maybe. I like the main character, he's a pretty cool guy. I forget the actor's name, I'll put it on screen. But I think he did a really good job of playing like a good Disney ingenue boy. I would argue he's one of my favorite decom actors, and he's only really ever been in one actual good decom in my opinion, which is Smart House, for those who are forgetting. But I can't justify putting this movie any higher. Like, even though I don't like this movie, I don't feel like outright hate for it like I do maybe the first 4 films on this list. I'm pretty indifferent towards it, but like all of the movies after it are better, so it just ends up being in the bottom 10. Overall, yeah, not a big fan of The Luck of the Irish. At number 113, we have, sadly, The Sweet Life movie. God, what can I even say about this movie that I haven't said already? I've talked about it in my 2-hour Sweet Life on Deck retrospective, and I pretty much said all I had to say about it in my review, in previous parts. It just doesn't take any of the characters seriously. The story is absurd in a different way than other On Deck stories have been absurd. And it's just disrespectful. It feels like a slap in the face to anyone who actually cares about this series. One thing that I didn't mention in my review was how it just ruins the whole plot of the series. It just doesn't fit in the continuity of the TV show, which is more proof that, like, it was done just so last minute, which is weird because this show has been on for literal years. You'd think they would have thought of an idea for a movie a little bit earlier, but it feels like it was rushed, and it feels like it was written by completely different people who had never even seen the show before, so because of that, I hate it, and that's so sad to me. Like, you would think that the Sprouse twins, some of the most successful Disney Channel stars, would have a good decom, but no. Genuinely a pointless movie. It added nothing to the story. It contributed nothing to the decom list. Just a waste of everyone's time. Truly. At number 112, we have True Confessions. This movie just makes me feel bad. This is a bad time kind of film. This is a film that will put you in a bad mood. And that's for multiple reasons. The main one just being that, like, I don't like the point of its existence. It's not that the story is one that I don't think should be told. It just represents Disney Channel's whole MO during the 2000s when it came to disabled children, which is that they're not as important as the feelings of able-bodied people who have to deal with them. Multiple movies on this list have that be like a central theme, and that just makes me upset. And also, I just don't think the depiction of whatever learning disability that the character might have is in any way something that is a positive contribution to a conversation that we should be having. It's just best left in the past, and it feels weird that I even had to watch it and talk about it in the modern day, because why does it even exist, honestly? I can understand what they were trying to do, really, truly, but I just don't like it. I'm sorry. At number 111, we have You Lucky Dog. Do you guys remember You Lucky Dog? Because I do. I wish I could forget this movie.
You have no idea how bad it gets. I wish I knew how to quit you.
Because it is just so bizarre. What a weird thing we have on our hands here. It makes me wonder if a lot of the Disney premiere films also have a similar aura to this, which is goofy and chintzy. Like, this movie feels like the equivalent of like a very lazy, thrown together, like, dog and human Vegas show act. It's just so chintzy and goofy in a way that, like, is not charming. Although I did think it was very funny. That's probably the only reason why it's not, like, the worst decom, is because it is a good laugh. It's good to have a nice laugh if you had a couple of drinks or you're high or whatever. But since I do neither of those things, this movie does not have any substance for me in my life. At number 110, I'm so sorry, guys. I kind of feel bad because, especially because I got a lot of hate for this opinion. But at number 110, I have to say Xenon, Girl of the 21st Century, it deserves to be here. No offense to Xenon, I think the idea and the concept is very fun, but this first movie, I just don't like the character of Xenon in a special, different way than some of the other unlikable decom characters who have to learn a lesson. I really don't feel like she really learns anything in this movie, and it has been a while since I've seen it, so, you know, I'm willing to be corrected in the comments below, so feel free to do that. I understand that her going to Earth is supposed to ground her, but I really don't see her improve as a person and become less selfish, and she seems to get rewarded for all of her bad behavior. Honestly though, now that I'm talking about it, I think I do like this movie more than some of the next ones we have to talk about, so maybe you can imagine that it's a little bit higher up. I would probably actually move this movie a little bit higher. It's just kind of sat on this bottom tier for such a long time, but after some of the next movies we have to talk about, you know, maybe it's not that bad. So take this part of the ranking with a grain of salt, okay? Movie 109 is Under Wraps 2. I cannot really describe, because of just how apathetic I was during my reviews, I can't describe how much of a painful experience it was to watch these movies. I guess that's why I could put Xenon below these, because that was also a pretty painful viewing experience. I just kept like wanting to turn off the movie, which these movies are supposed to go down real easy. They're not supposed to be difficult watches. They're not really even supposed to like evoke intense emotions out of you at all. So the fact that these movies evoked an intense reaction of hate says something very bad. I might as well lump in Under Wraps 2021 with this because it's at 108. These are kind of right next to each other in the ranking. I do think Under Wraps 2 is a little bit more worse because it is just a little bit more pointless than the first one. And the first one's already pretty fucking pointless. I think my absolute least favorite things about these things, other than them just being full-on checklist films, where things just kind of happen for no reason, and in a very awkward and clunky way that does not feel natural or smooth. There are plenty of other films on this list where that's the case, but I don't really feel that it's as jarring as it is for this. But I think what makes that clunkiness feel even worse is that this movie, to me, feels like it thinks I'm stupid. Like, I feel the movie talking down to me like I'm literally a newborn or something. Like, I don't understand words. Or even just basic story conventions, basic story function. Like, I've never heard of it before in my whole life. Literally every human being on the face of the earth understands story structure, so the fact that this thing is talking down to me is annoying, and it makes me so mad, and it makes this watching process just so frustrating. There's nothing natural about these movies. There was no innate passion for this project. It was literally just like, well, let's just do a remake of a previous DCOM. I don't know, the first one, under wraps. And there's no important underlying message they're trying to tell the audience. We're not supposed to endear ourselves to any of the characters, because if we were supposed to, then we would actually see them being cool characters that we would endear ourselves to, rather than the characters just telling us their life and everything that happens. I've talked about it for too much. I don't like these movies. They do have a cozy, fall, comforting energy, and just because they were made in the 2020s does not mean that they're bad. Like, that's not the reason why they're bad. It's all the other stuff. At number 107, we have Rip Girls. Now, here's the thing about Rip Girls. I was so energetic and hype at this point during the watch through. Like, I think this was, movie 20-something, 30-something, kind of like in the early 40. I was very energized about this project and very, excited to, really just, watch all of the movies and plow through them. I was watching, 3 movies a day, every day, for around a month, I think, or something like that. And I was still bored to tears by this movie. So I think that proves that, it's so plain and boring. Also, I've never been to Hawaii, so I don't really know much about Hawaiian culture or the whole state itself. But I don't know if this movie is a great representation of it or anything, but maybe that's just me. Especially for this girl who feels very disconnected from her culture. I would like to see, more culture. Maybe. I feel like we just got 1 or 2 scenes when I should really feel this character really engrossing themselves with this life that they've been so disconnected from because of their father taking them away, because of the trauma of losing their parent. Anyways, it's boring. It's so boring. Oh my gosh. And finally, for the in-depth reviews, we have movie 106, which is Ready to Run. See what I said about Rip Girls. It's just so boring. Oh my gosh. I guess I can try and explain why these movies are boring, and I think it's just that they don't have a lot of substance to them, and then also they're very quiet. They don't have a lot of exciting elements to them, so there's no interesting character dynamics to really dig ourselves into, no interesting conversations or complex topics to really chew on during the quiet moments of the movie. It's just quiet and simple, which is what I think makes it boring. Because there's nothing wrong with a quiet, simple movie. The story of a girl who wants to be a horse jockey but can't because her mother is traumatized because her father died in a horse jockey-related accident. That's a perfectly fine plot if there's actual interesting stuff happening in it. The topic is only interesting if you make it interesting. And then somehow she can talk to horses, and it still is the blandest movie I've ever seen. I don't think they do anything interesting or unique with that. I understand that since she can literally talk to the horse and she can understand what the horse is saying, so she understands its needs, that's why she's able to be a better horse jockey. That really doesn't make the story one worth telling, if that makes sense. You're not gonna get me inherently on horse talking in a funny accent. There has to be a reason as to why this is, some sort of, more substantial theme or something. And it has to actually be funny and not just annoying. Anyways, I don't like this movie, and no one talks about it, so there you go. Now I'm just going to list off each movie and the number of the ranking that it's at until we get to the top 15, and then I will go back to talking about in length the top 15. 105, Christmas Again. 104, Kim Possible. 103, The Cheetah Girls, One World. 102, You Wish. 101, Life is Rough. 100, Full Court Miracle. 99, Double Teamed. 98, Right on Track. 97, Miracle in Lane 2. 96, Quint. 95, A Ring of Endless Light. 94, Going to the Mat. 93, Johnny Kapahala, Back on Board. 92, Cadet Kelly. 91, How to Build a Better Boy. 90, Stepsister from Planet Weird. 89, Genius. 88, Horse Sense. 87, Buffalo Dreams. 86, The Naughty Nine. 85, Up, Up, and Away. 84, Return to Halloween Town. 83, Xenon the Sequel. 82, The Proud Family Movie. 81, Cheetah Girls 2. 80, Descendants, The Rise of Red. 79, The Other Me. 78, Can of Worms. 77, Bad Hair Day. 76, Jet Jackson the Movie. 75, The Even Stevens Movie. 74, Zombies 2. 73, Zombies. 72, Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires. 71, Zombies 3. 70, Xenon Z3. 69, The Slumber Party. 68, Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure. 67, Now You See It. 66, Den Brother. 65, Big City Greens the Movie, Spacecation. 64, The Ultimate Christmas Present. 63, Camp Rock 2, Final Jam. 62, Go Figure. 61, The Color of Friendship. 60, The Cheetah Girls. 59, Dad Napped. 58, Princess Protection Program.
57. Prom pact.
56, Read It and Weep. 55, Cloud 9. 54, Tangled Before Ever After. 53, Phantom of the Megaplex. 52, Alley Cat Strike. 51, Descendants. 50, Descendants 2. 49, The Scream Team. 48, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. 47, Minutemen. 46, Upside Down Magic. 45, Spin. 44, Stuck in the Suburbs. 43, Under Wraps, 1997. 42, Don't Look Under the Bed. 41, Starstruck. 40, Kim Possible Movie, So the Drama. 39, Descendants 3. 38, Adventures in Babysitting. 37, Girl vs. Monster. 36, Camp Rock. 35, Hatching Pete. 34, The Swap. 33, Jumping Ship. 32, Twitches 2. 31, Freaky Friday. 30, Cowbells. 29, Jump In. 28, Motocrossed. 27, Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off.
26. Teen Beach 2.
25, Pixel Perfect. 24, Smart House. 23, Invisible Sister. 22, Let It Shine. 21, Phineas and Ferb the Movie Across the Second Dimension. 20, The 13th Year. 19, Twitches. 18, Johnny Tsunami. 17, Halloween Town High. And 16, Avalon High. No cuts. All in one take. I'm just kidding. I'm definitely gonna have to cut. Okay, on to my top 15. Yay! One thing I do want to preface about basically my bottom 15 and my top 15 is that at the end of the day, don't take this too seriously. Most of the movies in my top 15 and my top 10 aren't in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I'm just meeting these movies where they're at, which is something that's important to do with, I think, any sort of work. You kind of have to take it for what it is, and you have to accept it for what it is. I found that a lot of movies that I don't like are movies that do things that I don't want them to do. I'd rather them do one thing and they're doing another. And so it's like, it's not the movie's problem. It's my problem. So as much as I like a lot of these movies, it is not like my entire personality. I think people need to watch all kinds of movies of all different types. I fear that a lot of the people who might be in my audience only really watch stuff from when they were little or from when they were kids or stuff made for kids just because it's stuff that's made for grown-ups or stuff that is more quote-unquote highbrow is a lot more complicated to dissect, and a lot of these movies are very simple, and so they just want to stick with things that are very simple and easy to understand and digest. And me personally, I do not want to consume art that way, and I think it can be kind of damaging to only consume art that is easily digestible for us. Sometimes you have to try new things and get out of your comfort zone and be uncomfortable with the media that you watch. So when I talk about how much I love the rest of these movies, just know that they're good for what they are, okay? I mean, some of these are even better. Like, they really do strive into like some of the best films. but there is more media out there, and to a certain degree, I don't think it's fair to compare these movies to some of my actual favorite movies, because those are just in a completely different sphere when it comes to technical execution, themes, acting, etc. So anyways, with all of that out of the way, at number 15, we have Get a Clue. This was just such a fun watch. Like, this is a movie I would recommend somebody watch if they're just interested in a 2000s DCOM, like a random one that's not well remembered. It is somewhat well remembered because it does have Lindsay Lohan in it, and the little mystery plot is just very cute. I love the fashion of this movie. I love the kind of like character. There's a lot of character in this film, and the characters are very charming, even though they are a bit self-centered at the beginning. Like, both Lindsay Lohan and Brenda Song's character learn to look outside themselves for a little bit and basically understand more about the real world. And especially for Lindsay Lohan's character, that means something because she wants to be a journalist and she finds that whole world interesting, and she has to understand people outside of her small little sheltered bubble if she wants to do that as a job profession. And yeah, I love just like the little kitty crew that get together and the investigating they do. We have a cute little enemies to lovers arc with the two main characters, and I appreciate that they learn to understand each other better and that it's not outright a romantic story. It could be seen as a romantic pairing, but they pretty much stay friends by the end of the movie. They're both kind of judging each other on the surface level, but then they learn to appreciate more about their inner complexities, and I think that's very cool. At number 14, we have 'Twas the Night. Man, this is just such a goofy little film. There's a certain kind of cheese that I'm looking for when I'm watching a Christmas movie, and 'Twas the Night has the cheesiness. It has the cheese factor. Bryan Cranston has such great physical comedy, and he's able to play this sort of like sly, kind of witty character with some hidden complexity. Like, you can tell he seems like a very damaged character that really comes across even in like small, minute moments. Even though he's doing bad things and the story, you know, reprimands him for the bad things that he's doing, you still are kind of rooting for him because, like, to a certain degree, maybe I should let my baby girl steal. It's cool to see the main boy character, I forget his name, I'm sorry. I've seen 120 of these things. It's probably some name like Michael or Brandon or something like that. I like his arc where he's basically like falling in line with his uncle's kind of huckster roots, but then realizing that like, oh, it's actually not cute when you're like a loser who steals money from people and lives in a attic. Oh, that's actually really embarrassing and sad, and I don't want to replicate that. That's a cool arc because I think a lot of kids like have to face that reality at some point. I think it's pretty common that like you look up to somebody because you just think they are so cool and awesome, and then you realize that like the things that you have been idealizing as cool are actually the lamest things in the whole world. That's like the kind of dynamic I get between these two, and I think it's funny. Plus, I barely even touched on the B-plot kind of storyline, which is the younger siblings hanging out with Santa, and also just the fact that Santa is real. I think this is a good way to do Santa, when they make bits, you know, he's not just like this godlike character. I love the fact that Santa like throws it down with a couple of like street gang members in an alleyway. He full on gets in a fist fight with a couple of random dudes in front of a trash fire. What a weird movie. I highly recommend it around Christmas time. At number 13, we have another Christmas movie. We have Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas. This is really where my own personal bias comes into place because other than the Sweet Life movie, pretty much all of the other DCOMs that are based off TV shows are shows I haven't seen, but yet these two I have seen and they're in the top 15. So like, bias. Don't take this seriously at all, okay? This is just for fun. I'm just sharing my personal opinions with you guys. Anybody will have a completely different list than mine because the thing about the DCOMs is that they're just so subjective because they really do just reach a very, very peculiar spot in the back of your mind. It's this weird thing that Disney, when its magic is at play, what it can do is it reaches such a specific part of your brain that like almost feels like it's part of your DNA. Even if they're not good, there's still something so important and sentimental about a lot of these movies to you. So that's why they stick with you, and then they end up being seen as such high pieces of media, even if they aren't actually that good. We might have to touch back to this rant a little bit later on from now. But no, I do think Good Luck Charlie, It's Christmas does things better than some of the other DCOMs in general, and also DCOMs based off of TV shows on this list. Specifically the fact that, like, the stakes are exactly where they need to be. This is still a wacky sitcom plot, wacky sitcom hijinks still occur, and like an average family is not going to be in this situation. But it still feels pretty grounded and speaks true to the sitcom genre that the TV show is. Like, we have funny little jokes about the airport and TSA, and more quote-unquote thrilling situations that are still very, quaint, like the fact that they bought a crappy Yugo from some guy for like $40, and the brakes just completely rip out, and they're tumbling down the Rocky Mountains with no brakes. That's as high as the stakes need to be for a Good Luck Charlie movie. Of course, there are fundamental problems with Good Luck Charlie as a series, ones that I plan on discussing in length in a little bit from now on my channel, working on that Good Luck Charlie retrospective video. Knowing my luck, Kean Carlisle is going to finish his video before I do, and then I'm going to look like I'm following in his coattails once again. That's okay. I don't mind being in that position. So I don't really want to get into the problems that may arise in the characterization of the characters in this movie, because then I'll just end up going on a big old rant about the TV show and we'll be here for forever. So just know that I think this is a very fun Christmas movie. Even if you've never seen the show, this will still be perfect for your Christmas movie watching. I just like Christmas movies more than the average person, I think. That's kind of a fact about me. I just think, like, I'm willing to lower my standards for a movie to rock bottom if it has a Christmas song in it and some jingle bells and a mistletoe or two. So the fact that there are Christmas movies out there, like this one and like the previous one on the list, that are like actually good and actually fun and explore unique topics, means that I really enjoy them and I'm going to sing their praise. Anyways, on to the next thing. Wow, I'm so tired. I feel like I'm gonna keel over any minute now. At number 12, we have Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge. I bet so many people are like, what? Why is this so high? And that's a fair enough question to ask. I feel like the Halloween Town series has a very weird legacy where, like, everyone loves the first one, including myself, and everyone loves the third one, including myself. It just barely, scraped out of the top 15. So I still really do love that movie. But the second movie and especially the fourth movie seem to have such, like, bad reputations, and I don't understand why, because Halloween Town 2 is a great Halloween movie. The same thing goes for Halloween movies that they do for Christmas movies. Basically, any holiday-themed movie, I'm willing to lower my standards for quality movie just for good holiday vibes. And the Halloween Town movies are good movies while also providing good Halloween vibes, so it's good all around. I'm famously somebody who does not like scary movies all that much. I'll partake in a scary movie or two if it's just that good, but I'm not a general fan of the genre. But when it comes to silly kids' spooky movies for Halloween, I'm on board. I love them all the way. I think the villain and Marnie, their sort of chemistry together, as well as Marnie's like character growth throughout this movie, is what signals it as such a great film. And I know that the two actors are, like, engaged or have been together for, like, 10 million years. I know about that, trust me. And their sort of, like, chemistry, even if it's not romantic, because Marnie never shows any sort of romantic interest in Cal, but even just, like, their, like, tension that they have on screen, it's so good. I kind of wish they were, like, with each other more throughout the film, because after the opening scene at the Halloween party, they're, like, not really in the same room together until the very end when they're fighting. And of course, that leads me to saying the CGI, it's okay. It's very chintzy. I would argue for a young person, they'd be like, what am I looking at? And they probably wouldn't find charm in it, but I do. Personal bias. Sometimes, don't tell people this, okay? Because I don't want to get canceled. But sometimes, I put on this movie for Halloween time, and I don't watch the first Halloween Town. This was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I swear, I would tell people that I liked Halloween Town 2 more than the first one. And that's not the case anymore. But still, this is such a great film. Oh, it's so weird, the plot. That, like, all of the Halloween Town members are becoming, like, boring humans. Oh, it's so funky, and I love that. So, I highly recommend you watch the whole Halloween Town series, honestly. At number 11, and it makes me feel so sad that this isn't actually in the top 10 as a whole, we have Teen Beach Movie. So there is one crucial thing that is keeping Teen Beach Movie out of the top 10, which is very upsetting. And that crucial thing is that there are 2 movies from one franchise in my top 10. So if I were to do some sort of rule that like only one movie from each franchise is allowed in the top 10, then maybe Teen Beach Movie would be at number 10. But right now it has to be at number 11. Purely speaking, from a choreography and music standpoint, this thing is on fire. This thing is so good. Because the thing about a musical is that, like, it needs to be 1/3 a good movie. It also needs to be 1/3 a good soundtrack and 1/3 a good dance sequence. And this has all of it, baby. Something that I really appreciated about the movie is that we have these long, like, no-cut scenes where there is just dance happening. And it really, really does elevate the story. There are plenty of movies, like the zombies movies, for example, where there is a lot of really good dancing. But when it comes time for the main characters to, like, you know, actually do some, you know, cool, crazy stunts and stuff, especially because their characters in universe are supposed to be doing cool, crazy stunts and stuff, they're not doing it. They, like, have to cut away, and they feel just slightly underwhelming. Just slightly, though. I do stand by the opinion that the zombie series does have good choreography and does have general good concepts for a musical. It's just that the plot is dog shit, and that's why they ended up so low on the ranking. If the actual story that those movies were trying to tell were good, then maybe they would be among the ranks of Teen Beach Movie. Because I would say that Teen Beach Movie is that. Give it up for my guy Ross Lynch. I like him. In my rewatch of this movie and subsequent rewatches, because I rewatch this movie a lot, in those subsequent rewatches, I've kind of poked fun at Ross Lynch's acting in this film a little bit, just a little bit, because to a certain degree, it is a bit dry at times. This led me to, like, spiral when I thought of, like, what is Disney Channel acting? Is it seen as a valid form of acting just because it's a little bit more surface level, less quote-unquote complex, because it's more, like, theatrical in nature? Anyways, I literally can't get into that now. But I think he does a great job in this movie. And so does Maya Mitchell. She's kind of like the main character, Mac, because we have to see her arc. I like seeing her subtly change when she interacts with the Wet Side Story characters. And also just all of the Wet Side Story stuff is so fun and cute. I bought the soundtrack on CD. I don't have it with me right now, and I'm not getting up to go show you guys that I have it, but I'll insert a photo and post or something maybe. I don't know. It has the sauce that any good musical movie needs to have, and I really appreciate it for that. At number 10, we have Gotta Kick It Up. So Gotta Kick It Up really surprised me on my first ever watch because I'd basically never heard of it before, yet it's a masterpiece. Like, it's so good. Now, this is an example of a good ensemble cast where each character gets just the right amount of characterization. We understand the desires and struggles of all of these characters, and we are endeared to them through watching them try and succeed. And the main character, I really like her sort of arc. It's kind of a more unique arc because she's sort of like a bad girl troublemaker who is just ready to drop out and just enter the real world. And that's because the education system as a whole has failed her and her boyfriend, who has already dropped out and has just started working. And it isn't until an adult shows her that, like, she ain't grown. She still needs to be doing little kid things like, you know, cheerleading and stuff. Sorry, it's actually like a drill dance team, I think. So it's building community through children-friendly activities that really helps ground these people and, you know, focus them on, like, improving their lives, which I think is really cool. It shows that these sort of school activities and systems need to be put in place for more children, no matter their economic standpoint. And I just really appreciate that. Plus her and her struggles with her boyfriend, I feel like it's a very realistic struggle for a lot of kids. And to a certain degree, I like that they get back together. I would have liked to seen a little bit more of an apology from the boyfriend, because he's basically like, you're stupid for wanting to dance. Why don't you just drop out already? Why do you care about your education? But I mean, they're children. And so like 2 seconds later, he's like, that was stupid of me to say. Why did I say that? Basically, he couldn't handle being with an ambitious queen. And then he learns that, it's actually not that difficult, bro. And I don't know, I just like the story of a bunch of kids who have already basically given up on life because they've just been told that they're not going to be able to succeed in anything special, relearning that sort of magic that, like, whatever they want to do, whatever their dreams are, they are achievable. Isn't that wonderful? And then also, it's just a deeply relatable movie for me. Like, this is what my high school looked like. This is what I looked like in high school. Like, very, very relatable in terms of just, like, the surface level, like, aesthetics of it and the cast. And that's enough for me for this movie, because it also has that very well done story with it. See, you can't just Ready to Run be like, hey, here's a bunch of Hispanic people. Do you like our movie now? No, it actually has to be a good story. And this movie has it. We're in a very interesting spot right now, because I would argue that, like, literally any of these movies between number 10 and number 5 could honestly just be shuffled around, because they're all so good, but all kind of like in a similar way. So at number 9 we have Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior, and if I'm being completely honest, the only reason why this is at number 9 or not number 10 is because I thought the action scenes were cool. It's very likely that tomorrow I'm gonna be like, duh, why did I put Wendy Wu at number 9? It should be number 10. Oh, those action sequences are so cool. I mean, like, genuinely, I was gobsmacked watching this movie. There's just something so entertaining about just a good kung fu action sequence. And according to the comments, I don't know if this is true, I didn't do any research on it, but apparently the people who were choreographing this movie, the fight scenes specifically, the martial arts scenes, are also the choreographers for a lot of Power Rangers stuff, so that's cool. I do want to take back one thing that I did say in my review. No one has mentioned it, but I just want to, clarify. I'm not sure if this is actually a wuxia film, or if I'm pronouncing the term wuxia correctly. Because I now understand that, like, a wuxia film is more than just a kung fu master basically going on the hero's journey arc. So I'm not sure if this is actually one, but either way, it's still a really good story. Again, I like Wendy Wu as a little bit more of like an unlikable main character. Here's one thing about me, okay? And again, this proves my personal bias. When it comes to unlikable characters where the whole kind of bit is the fact that, like, they're just an annoying teenage girl, I'm always way more likely to actually like them, because what is so wrong about just being an annoying teenage girl? Like, that's a majority of teenage girls and just teenagers in general are going to be slightly annoying, okay? And I can forgive them for that, because it's not a crime or anything, geez. So yeah, she cares about Homecoming, which is a frivolous thing. I appreciate that she learns the importance of her role in the world and learns to actually like it and appreciate it. It's kind of scary as a kid to be told that, like, hey, you're gonna do this one thing. So of course she's like, no, I'm just going to ignore it and pretend it's not happening. And another thing I appreciate is that the only way for her to actually defeat the evil would be for her to, actually want to do it. Like, if she doesn't want to do the whole quest or whatever and actually become a kung fu master, then it's not gonna work if they just force her to do it. They have to let things naturally go with the flow. So I appreciate that she learns to find real-world application to her new talents. She enjoys having her talents and feels fulfilled in learning the art of kung fu. Yeah, it's kind of like a simple, kind of like a boring good movie in a sense, where it's like, yeah, I mean, like, it does all the things it's supposed to do and it does it well. Like, I don't really have much else to say, I guess. At number 8, we have Geek Charming. I hate the way I say the word geek. I have a hard time saying it. Geek. Like, my mouth just doesn't want to say it. Geek Charming. Listen, it's a rom-com. It's a good, well-done rom-com. What else do I have to say? I will say that this movie probably wouldn't have been in the top 10 if I hadn't done my video on it, where I, broke down the plot of the book and compared adaptations. I have a sneaky feeling that this maybe would have still been high, but it wouldn't have been in the top 10, purely just because I had a newfound appreciation for the movie after seeing how bad the book is. Disney Channel, and I think also like other TV movies that are based off of books, they like to do this thing where they basically do the opposite of what the plot of the book is. And I don't know why. Maybe I'll, think about it and come up with a reason someday. But like a lot of the DCOMs that are based off books basically have done the opposite of what the plot of the book is. And that's the exact case here for Geek Charming. But then they justify it. They make the story and everything fit their new idea more. And I think that's what I appreciate at the end of the day. Like, I would argue that the plot of Geek Charming just is more awkward, if that makes sense. It's just a very awkward, kind of clunky story. And this one's very smooth. It goes down easy. Everything flows. Everything makes sense. People do decisions that make sense one after the other. Like, we naturally see these two grow to be friends and then grow a more romantic interest in one another. It works. It flows. Like, it isn't just, we're at the 45-minute mark, so that means they have to like each other now, so they're just gonna like each other. Like, there's a natural flow of it. Like, for example, they're two very passionate people about their own personal goals, and they're unwilling to budge and are just clashing heads, which leads to them blowing up and ruining the opportunity. But then, after both recoup and reanalyze their own, personal shortcomings, and then they go to reconcile, that is when they start to understand each other better and connect on a better level. Both realize that they took for granted the fact that, they really needed each other to cooperate, and then they didn't, and now things are, really gonna go bad, and all their plans are gonna be ruined if they don't work together, and they realize that working together is not, a problem. That, that they can actually just learn to like each other, and they will like each other if they're just nice and not immediately going into this relationship with their own personal biases and need. Wow, it's almost like that's how human interaction should be, and we have something to learn from this stupid DCOM. Also, the chemistry is electrifying to see on screen. These two worked together really, really well in the movie. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but if you haven't seen my video on this movie, they were together in real life, and apparently the guy was extremely abusive. And he's a horrible person. But at the time of the movie, they were happily in love, and that really comes across in the film. He almost ruins it, by the way, with his acting, let me just say. Sarah Hyland is a national treasure, and I wish she was in more movies, because she does a pretty good job in this one. Sarah Hyland is okay, by the way. She left that guy, she got a restraining order, she's now married to a good guy, she's fine now. But still, it's sad that she had to go through that. At number 7, we have Brink. Man, I'm so glad that this ended up in the top 10, because this was literally, first day. The day that I decided I wanted to watch every DCOM, I just started watching them, and this was one of the first ones I ever watched. And I'm glad that I still have, so much love for it to this day. Hey, so, my camera died, so I'm using my other camera now, and also my dog is here, and he's licking himself. Well, that's just gonna continue, so I shouldn't try fighting it. Hopefully you can't hear his licking on camera. So there's something just so charming about Brink, and it made me really excited to think that basically all of the early stage DCOMs were going to be like this. And the answer to that was no, that wasn't the case, but I still enjoyed Brink. Andy Brinker as a character is just, he's one of the most iconic, Disney Channel, characters to me, because he's just such a good, pure-hearted soul. I like the villain character. Because this is a sports movie, it does follow a similar arc that a lot of the later DCOMs are going to follow, but Brink, I would argue, is the predecessor to them all, so it's okay. But most sports movies follow this sort of arc where you have a rival who is the literal antithesis of everything that you believe in as a main character. And I like that he's not redeemed in the end. Something I kind of don't like about a lot of sports movies is where they redeem the villain, but then that's it, the villain is still in a bad place. And it's not like I want them to redeem them at all, but it's kind of like either you're gonna do a villain redemption story, or like you're gonna have a story where like the antagonist is not really like a true villain, and like there is, you know, villain is like the system or whatever, or you just have the character just straight up be a bad dude, and that's the case in this movie. Like you think they're gonna try and redeem him at the end, but no, he's just a bad dude. And also I like that they have to work together. That's one thing I love. I love it when like the hero and the antagonist have to like work together. And again, all of the friend characters are like really well fleshed out, but like only to the amount that they need to be. Maybe there were some hiccups here and there with them that I have forgotten because again, it's been literal years since I first watched this movie. But yeah, it's so fun. What can I say? I love Brink. There's so many good themes to chew on here about kids overextending themselves, trying to live up to an adult expectation, all that jazz. Yeah, highly recommend it. At number 6, we have Halloween Town. Now, come on, the vibes are just so good on this movie. This is one of those things where I would argue this is so high on vibes and vibes alone. I mean, obviously, it's still a good movie. There's a lot of really good, you know, stuff happening. Again, Marnie is a main character. S-tier Disney Channel character. Maybe I should do a Disney Channel original movie character ranking, where I pick a lot of like significant main characters in these movies and I rank them. That might be fun because Marnie's definitely up there. She's cool and she's confident and she knows what she's about, and it's mainly just trying to get everybody else on her level, while also understanding that, like, you know, they need to process things in their own way too. The little fetch quests that they have to go on, and like the wonder and childlike like joy that comes with exploring a new world that's super whimsical and fantastical, like Halloween Town. It's great. Also, it has that sort of like Harry Potter plot line of like, you think you live in a normal world and you think you're just a normal, boring person, but actually like you're secretly this really cool thing and like magic exists and is real. I'm sold on the magic of this movie is what I'm trying to say. There are so many little bits and bobs of this movie that I think are like really well done. They all like contribute to the main story, and the main story is very simple. Like this is a very simple movie, mind you. And that's okay because it does what it needs to do for a simple movie. And so I really appreciate that. This is a huge nostalgia pick as well because like, is Halloween Town actually that good? To me, yes. But maybe to some other people, it doesn't deserve to be this high of a caliber ranking. Also, the 1-2 punch of Halloween Town and Brink, elite combo. That was such a fun, exhilarating part of the watch through for me. And I think the fact that like I went into these movies knowing that I'm going to watch every single one really did flavor how I was interpreting them and appreciating them. I would argue that kind of more negatively affected the bottom half of this tier, like the very ending of the chronological order, just because like it just feels so tired and worn out, this whole project. The Disney Channel original movie as a whole, it feels so directionless to a certain degree. And I don't want to hate on it that much, but also like, there's nothing super inspiring about these movies. There's maybe one or two that I think have a little bit of juice left in them, like the Prom Pact or Zombies 3. But as a whole, it just feels like this series is running on fumes. And there's just something so wonderful to look back when the Disney Channel original movie still had so much energy and life and spark still left in it. So yeah, that's why it's this high. It's like one of those things where it's like, why would I ever not recommend this movie to people? I think it's one of the most agreeable movies to like ever exist. Unless you know some people out there who are like against magic and say that like it's against their religion or something, that I understand. It doesn't need to be subversive to be good. It just needs to be good. I don't know if my dog agrees though. Anyways, on to number 5, Radio Rebel. Who gasped? Who's shocked? Here's the thing about Radio Rebel, okay? I talked about how much I liked it for 80 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't deserve to be in the top 5. I'm fully aware of that. The reason why I say it doesn't deserve to be in the top 5 is because I do not like the ending. I don't think the ending is good. I think there are fundamental issues with the ending that are pretty much impossible to reconcile. I mean, maybe if they were given more time to work on it, or if the way that this movie came about did not happen, then maybe the ending would be better. But everything else, it's pure, unadulterated, unfiltered, decom cheese. Like, this is the most decom to ever decom. And it technically isn't really even made by Disney Channel. The only reason why I count it as a decom is because it aired on Disney Channel first, before it aired on YTV. But this movie technically was made for YTV, as far as I'm aware. It may fall under the Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure clause for some people, it may not. It depends. I forget sometimes that, like, most people don't care. There is something so pure about this movie as just a weird, girly movie about a kid who wants to be a radio show host and is extremely shy. Of like, here's this shy, very reserved person who can barely even speak in front of the class, who is a radio show host and speaks to thousands of people in their town under the guise of like a secret identity. It's very cute and fun. The soundtrack slaps. I don't care what anyone says. Go listen to the soundtrack. I made a playlist of it on Spotify of all of the songs, because not all of it is included on the official soundtrack that's on Spotify. The character acting fits the movie. Whatever Debbie Bryan is doing in this movie, it fits the vibe of the story, okay? You can't say that it feels like out of place. It feels like it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, okay?
It was a brisk fall day, Colorado, 1991.
Here we go.
When are people going to realize that so much of TV is like basically just a solitary reenactment of like watching a stage production? That so much of television and then like television movies in that sense are basically just going to the theater with your besties. Like, there's a certain level of suspension of disbelief you have to apply to these things. Sorry, I get very heated when people in bad faith talk shit about a lot of decoms, especially Radio Rebel. But that's my own personal bias. I think in the years 2018 to 2021, I watched Radio Rebel at least once a month. So what is that, 4 years? So yeah, for 4 years straight, basically all I did was watch Radio Rebel. So that's the only reason why it's in the top 5. It probably doesn't deserve to be in the top 5, based off of my other metrics. But no, it's in the top 5. And it's my list, so y'all can't say shit, okay? I don't know why Radio Rebel gets me so angry. I think it's because I've, like, tattooed it onto my heart. Like, I think it's become a part of my DNA. So if someone insults Radio Rebel, it feels like they're insulting me. Yeah, when I said I had a parasocial relationship with this movie, I wasn't lying. I have to talk about this with a therapist. Why do I like Radio Rebel so much? I don't know. It's good. Watch my 80-minute video on it. It's one of my favorite videos that I've made because I just committed to the bit, and I like doing that from time and time again. Number 4. Okay, we're getting serious here, guys. This is like the serious part of the ranking. Like, this is legit shit here, okay? At number 4, we have Wizards of Waverly Place, the movie. The show Wizards of Waverly Place is already a good show. It's one of the better Disney Channel shows, purely because of the character work that is done between Alex and Justin. I mean, Max is given dog shit, but, you know, again, made a 55-minute video about that already. Another example of me committing to the bit, another one of my favorite videos I've made so far, even though it's a bit lo-fi and crunchy. The tone and the writing is absolutely phenomenal. And considering that this very much could have been a Sweet Life movie situation where like randos handled the story and it was really bad, and the fact that that didn't happen is very happy to me, because I could see a world where this movie was on the same level of quality as the Sweet Life movie, and that makes me really sad. So I'm glad that this story is so good. Like, the story and the arc, it fits the characters. It kind of messes up the lore a little bit. The lore is a bit funky, but I mean, that's kind of like a character trait of the series. You can dislike the show because the magic system's broken, but if you like the show despite of the magic system being broken, then like, why would you have a problem with it in the movie then, right? Maybe one day I'll make a video where I try and explain the magic system with my own personal headcanons and like do another bit, you know, because I feel like that'd be funny. Yeah, the dialogue specifically, it's very naturalistic. That's probably gonna be like a recurring theme for these next 3 or 4 movies, is that I'm gonna probably try and not use the word naturalistic, but I am gonna use it.
I was at the junior championships when there was a tragic accident. It was a steamy August day in Darien, Connecticut.
To a certain degree, while I say that, like, these movies aren't real and you gotta take them with a grain of salt and you gotta appreciate them for what they are and treat them like you're watching, like, a stage production or something, you know, everything's going to be heightened and exaggerated. It's not gonna be realistic. Because that's a big problem with a lot of movies these days and people's expectations for movies is that they're expecting it to basically just be real life. Like, when people watch movies nowadays, because of a bunch of history that I shouldn't get into right now, people expect movies to be real life. Like, it's the closest we get to art imitating life in a certain degree, especially with the high quality cameras and all that junk. So people get mad when realism is not a part of a film, which is why I think so many people react negatively to movies like Radio Rebel, which are very heightened and exaggerated and, dare I say, camp. And I think that that's bad. I think that people should appreciate the theatricality and the artifice of these things because they're not made to be real. But also, like, relatability is also an aspect of this thing. Obviously, the story of Wizards of Waverly Place is not real because magic isn't real. At least I don't think it's real. So the situation where, like, Justin and Alex are going on this crazy magical quest through the jungle is, like, not a realistic thing, but you can relate to the feelings that these characters have. And also, their feelings and their writing and their motivation is all done expertly. Justin is analyzed the most he probably ever has been throughout the series in this movie because he's given the chance to, like, not be the one who does the right thing in the end. They don't give a critical eye to a lot of Justin's actions because he is seen as, like, the good one and is doing the good things versus Alex, which is seen as more devious. So her actions are more challenged throughout the stories. I challenge them as an audience viewer, but, like, the narrative and the story themselves are not challenging them. But they are for Justin, and that is, it's so good. I like the serious tone that this movie takes. It takes the stakes seriously, while still being a very fun and energetic movie. So, okay, let's just get this out of the way. Number 3 is High School Musical. I'm gonna keel over. I'm so exhausted. Here's the thing about High School Musical. It's a masterpiece. There was so much thought and, like, effort put into this movie. When I watch this movie, all I see is just, like, effort. Because there are so many little details that all build to, like, one big, great film. Also, I don't know if I trust somebody who doesn't have High School Musical, at least one of the 2 films that count as DCOMs. I don't trust anyone who doesn't have those in their top 10. I mean, maybe if there's, like, some Gen Alpha kid or whatever who was born, like, 5 years after it came out. But even then, it's like, you must read the ancient texts. We forget that exactly 1/3 of these DCOMs all came out before 2002. Like, that's fucking insane. I guess I don't want to spoil a lot of opinions I have on the characters for High School Musical because that's kind of the idea I have for my video I'm going to make about them. I am going to make a High School Musical video one day. I guess I can say what the topic is going to be. Basically, I want to analyze Troy Bolton as a character and kind of, like, break down every single little aspect of him specifically. Because I think it's a very fascinating arc that the character has through 3 movies. And other than the fact that he's played by Zac Efron, who they cast to be some sort of heartthrob in this movie, you really like Troy. Like, he's a good guy. You know, he really is. Because Gabriella gets, like, some characterization. She gets enough. And she's also a great character. I appreciate all of the aspects of her as somebody who is very focused on her future and how that's a flaw, actually. And then the music really speaks to all of this. All of the songs that they sing and all of the actions that they take in the songs are, like, they work. You already know how good High School Musical is if you're this far into this video. You already know this. So, like, do I really need to go on about how much this series is good? I guess I'll say one thing. Did you ever notice the color schemes of Troy and Gabriella as characters? Did you ever notice how blue is their color? Blue is associated with them seeing eye to eye and them connecting and them being their truest selves. So yes, that horribly disgusting Canadian tuxedo that Troy Bolton wears, that's his truest self. And isn't that amazing? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't it wonderful that that is the kind of effort they put into the story on that minute of a level? How many other DCOMs can I say that has that much effort put into them? Not many. I can't think of any other DCOMs where they do something that specific and cool. I mean, there are a few, but like the story isn't also as good as High School Musical's story is. We kind of take for granted how good the story is because it's just like a given that like, yeah, you know, it's a good story. Anyways, number 2. We're gonna keep talking about High School Musical, baby. It's High School Musical 2! Obviously. Obviously, High School Musical 2 is number 2. Did y'all notice that I hadn't mentioned it yet? Because there's no way. There's no way it wouldn't be in the top 5. I'm going a bit insane. I'm sorry, guys. I'm starting to get loopy, I can tell. Like, I'm reaching that kind of like dizzy state that one gets when they haven't slept and they need sleep. I think it's a very fascinating phenomenon when there is a trilogy of sorts, and how in some cases the sequel can be the worst movie, but in other cases the sequel can be the best movie of the series. I think that's very fascinating. High School Musical 3 is good. I don't know where I'd put it in the ranking. Probably pretty high as well. Would it be in my top 10? Probably. You know what? I might put High School Musical 3 above High School Musical. So, like, High School Musical 3 would be in between, maybe. Because, like, even though probably High School Musical 3, on certain technical aspects, can be seen as, like, better from an objective standpoint, I still think High School Musical 2 is the best one from a biased point of view. The story arc that Troy Bolton goes on in this movie is unbeatable. There's very, very little else that can compete with this story arc of a character. And the movie endears us more to all of the Wildcats. I Don't Dance is a gay pride anthem, and the setting is just so nostalgic and warm. Again, this is what the DCOM is supposed to do. It's supposed to provide just such an idyllic and warm version of childhood, where of course there are problems, of course there are issues, but like, things are okay. Everything's gonna be okay. You can have all of these things and it still be okay. And I think that's the feeling I get when I watch High School Musical 2. Everything's gonna be okay. I appreciate Sharpay as more of an active antagonist in this story, because I think it actually imbues her character with more of a sense of purpose. The first movie is just like, who's gonna ruin my musical? Which is a decent like mode for her to be in, but I would argue the main problem with the movie, like the main conflict of the first movie, is the fact that like other people are against the status quo. Like Sharpay isn't the one who breaks them up. It's actually their friends. So I appreciate that we have more of just like a concrete like mastermind villain in this story, but it's also deeply empathetic and relatable. But like it only relates to the worst part of you. Sharpay is just used to getting what she wants, and this is something that she wants, and so she's going to get it without realizing the context of her actions and the consequences. And then she has to face those consequences, and I appreciate that. Anyways, there's probably more I can say about High School Musical 2, but my brain feels like a cup of ramen noodles, so I'm just gonna have to stop here. You already know it's one of the best movies of all time. Should have won the Oscar. Anyways, number one. I wish I was more cognitively aware right now, because I would love to talk about this movie all the time. Number 1 is Lemonade Mouth. I tried to kind of bury the lead on this one because I didn't want to reveal that Lemonade Mouth was my favorite DCOM, just for like a few reasons. I would argue it's a very stereotypical pick for number 1. I think a lot of people who will do this will put Lemonade Mouth at number 1. It's either Lemonade Mouth or Descendants, and that makes sense. Descendants was kind of like the movie that probably reinvigorated a lot of people into becoming Disney Channel fans as grown-ups. Like a lot of the people that I hang around in circles with, who are people who are my age or older than me, who are Disney Channel fans, and they work on archival things, they make gift sets. Like, they're grown-ups who are into Disney Channel. The only reason why they are grown-ups into Disney Channel, like myself, is because of Descendants. And I would argue that, for me, my version of that is Lemonade Mouth. Because as a kid, and I'm going to start using language that I have not used throughout this whole video because I don't think it is the proper language to use with these movies, and you guys already know this. But when I was younger, I saw Lemonade Mouth as a real movie. Like, it rose above the conventional slop genre that is, like, boring, basic kids movie into real movie status for me. Obviously, that's not what I think about DCOMs anymore. As a jaded teenager, that is how I felt. But there's no such thing as a real movie. Like, all movies are real movies. Lemonade Mouth has a certain level of craft and artistry that I did not think was possible for the Disney Channel when I rewatched it as a grown-up, and even when I did watch it as a kid growing up. When I was in middle school, which was already like a few years after I had stopped watching Disney Channel, this was probably 2016, 2017, I would listen to the Lemonade Mouth soundtrack. I would add the songs to my playlists along with all of my other real songs, because again, this was still how my brain was working as an adolescent. And I read the book multiple times. I've read it twice, exactly, recently. And I plan on reading it a third time because I want to make a video in the same style as my Geek Charming video for this, where I compare adaptations between the book and the movie. Originally, I decided not to do that because I figured, well, other people have done that in the past, but as an English major about to get their BA in English literature, I like to think that I have special qualifications to review books. Somebody who, right now, my whole full-time thing is reading and analyzing books on a college level. Anyways, I have a hard time explaining how much I like Lemonade Mouth because it's just like, it's so inherent to my being that this is a good movie and a movie that is worth your time and effort. The cinematography is on a different level from all of the other movies. There is a cinematic quality to this film while also still being very simple. Like, they don't do anything that out of the box with the cinematography, yet there is a direct quality there, just like a master of craft behind the camera. The acting is completely different from any of the other DCOMs. The acting fits a lot more what I look for in acting, which is small facial expressions. That's something that I appreciate the most in a movie, is when characters, you see character in their face and in little physical minute details along with clothing and like setting. Seeing those details fit with how the character is acting and the words they're speaking is what I look for in a quality performance. And we have that 5 for 5 across the entire board. Everything fits, like everything works. Everything's working and on an expert level. In a way that, like, for a lot of these movies, that isn't the case. Like, that isn't really the case for Radio Rebel, I'll be honest here, even though I love that movie. I do have more to say about Lemonade Mouth, but I fear I might just lose my mind, even more than I already have, if I try and talk about it more. So, yes, Lemonade Mouth is my favorite DCOM. What's your favorite DCOM? Give me your top 10. Have you watched every Disney Channel original movie? I sure hope you haven't. Let me know your thoughts. There are very little people in the world who have done this, I think. There has to be some people who just, like, haven't found my video yet who have done this, and I want to hear what they have to say. I want to talk to anybody who's done this because I want to feel less crazy. I feel like an insane person. Like, I have all this knowledge that I just, like, I don't know how to rationalize or provide a context for. So I need to speak with other people who have done this, because I know they're out there. Anyways, on to the outro? So there, we did it. We finished. We finally talked about every single Disney Channel original movie. Do you feel satisfied? I don't know if I do. Do you feel a pit of emptiness in your stomach because you realize you wasted your whole day watching this and not, you know, like, getting a job, kissing a girl, doing something?
Losers, you're wasting your lives! Get a job, kiss a girl, do something! No offense.
So clearly the Disney Channel original movie is still alive and well. Technically, I mean, the most recent movie we talked about just came out a few months ago. None of these movies are considered by the general public to actually be DCOMs, and to many people, the DCOM, and by bigger part, Disney Channel itself, is dead. So why is that? The downfall of television has been a really huge thing and factor I've been talking about for many, many months now. It's kind of been the thesis of a lot of my videos. So what does it mean? The death of Disney Channel is the death of TV. The death of the DCOM is the death of TV. Now, what brought about the death of TV? It's a multitude of things. Overall, low ratings. That is what really has killed cable television, and it's slowly bleeding on the floor and refuses to die, even though it's clearly doesn't have much left in it. Why is cable suffering such low ratings? Well, average viewers all fled to the internet at the turn of the mid-2010s. Specifically when it comes to Disney Channel's case, children themselves started getting iPads and smartphones and stuff, and they stopped being interested in cable television. Kids these days look up to vloggers and TikTokers. They don't look up to Disney Channel stars anymore. Yeah, kids want to be YouTubers instead of wanting to be on the Disney Channel anymore. When Jake Paul was on a Disney Channel show, it was seen as them desperately trying to get new viewers by getting a hot new celebrity from the internet onto one of their projects. Literally, Olivia Rodrigo was the lead star of that show. And she meant less than Jake Paul at the time.
It exists.
Yeah, same here. But it's that one song, he did a Christmas song, where it was basically just an advertisement for his merch. And he's like, buy that merch, buy that merch. And he's like dressed as Santa Claus. Anyways, Jenna Ortega was a YouTuber. She made sketches for Awesomeness TV. Like, so many people are starting out now. I know, Kane, isn't that crazy? When she was like 5 or whatever, she was making sketches for Awesomeness TV, and then those got put on Nickelodeon. So I first saw Jenna Ortega on Nickelodeon, even though she was an internet person originally. Children, the main audience for Disney Channel, were fleeing en masse. That's why Descendants was a very big deal for the network, because it was their last really big project and why they refused to stop making Descendants movies. And now with the invention of Disney Plus, it's pretty clear to see the writing on the wall. I mean, Disney Channel actually doesn't really exist for most people, outside of the USA specifically. I've been telling this anecdote off and on throughout the past few months as I've been working on this video. My grandmother decided to cancel her cable this past summer. And so she had a month left before she had to send all the equipment back and stuff. And I decided that I would visit her very frequently and check out the Disney Channel and see what was going on because I was working on this project. And I realized that they have very, very little material to air on there anymore. First of all, I got into a Gravity Falls spiral where I watched like 3 episodes in a row, and that's what inspired me to start up the podcast with my friends where we talk about Gravity Falls. You'll go watch it, link in the description. And the only other original programming they seem to have left on there was shows that have all essentially been canceled now. So clearly the Disney Channel is going through a kind of restoration, kind of rethinking, retooling era, because literally every sitcom has been canceled. The only one that seems to be still alive and confirmed for another season is Big City Greens, which is an animated show. The CW did something very similar recently too. Yeah. So that's like an example of these cable networks being like, something's gotta change.
Frantically trying to...
Yeah, I think the CW specifically was in talks of getting bought out by somebody. Anyways.
Probably.
And I would say that the launching of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place is another example of this, the fact that they are maybe trying to relaunch a new sort of movement for the Disney Channel.
A big thing now about Disney Channel is that they consistently are leaning more towards animated projects than they are live action, when the live action stuff and the Disney Channel original movies were their bread and butter for the longest time. And while that made sense in the past few years because animation was an easier show to create remotely, it is much harder to make a movie. And a lot of movies when they're fully animated, because that takes a lot of time and effort, compared to the original model of the DCOM, which was do it as fast and as cheaply as possible and make a bajillion of them. So then you can just air them into infinity. If you noticed, a lot of the clips I was using have the little Disney Channel bugs on the corner of them, and a lot of them are from the modern day. So clearly a lot of the movie rips I'm using have come from the 100 movies special they did in 2016, but specifically because when you look up online like a rip of a movie, they usually have the HD version, and so the HD versions are like the most prominent ones, and a lot of those were recorded probably in 2016 when they did the 100-year special thing. 100th movie special thing. Whatever.
100 years.
100 years, DCOMs, 100 years. It's more like 35 or whatever. So all of these slow stylistic changes, along with Disney Plus having its own allocated budget, means that the DCOM doesn't really need to exist anymore. And Disney Channel itself doesn't need to exist either. But yet it refuses to die along with a lot of these other dinosaur cable networks. They don't want to cancel these networks because it's embarrassing to prove that they've actually lost to Netflix and Hulu and all the streaming services. So they just keep limping around with barely any viewers, barely surviving, and probably getting most of their money from when they cross-promote their projects onto streaming services. Because if you want proof that no one watches cable television anymore, I mean, literally look at the numbers. I think the most concurrent viewers that Disney Channel ever had back in 2007, if I'm remembering correctly, was 7 million. 7 million concurrent viewers. No matter at what time on the Disney Channel, 7 million people were watching. Compare that to today, and you have 100,000. That is a 98% decrease. Actually, I lied. It's 98.5, so I really should round it up to 99% decrease in viewership. She flopped. Thank you. So the question is, why do this? Why are we here talking about every Disney Channel original movie? For some people, it's just because, I don't know, probably get a lot of clicks. But for me, it means a lot more. Like I said earlier, the history of the downfall of television, and Disney Channel specifically, is very, very apparent because it shows a cultural shift among entire generations. I'm not that old. Right? I'm not old. I'm not that old. Yet for some reason, I had a completely different pop culture upbringing than the kids are nowadays. And I think that's something that's going to be talked about and reflected on in the future. But since television still like kind of exists and like we still kind of watch it, but we really don't, like, is kind of why we're probably not having as much discourse about it. So I think in the next few years or so, at least I hope in the next few years or so, we're really going to talk about television and how it truly died and what happened to it.
It's going to be crazy when we start talking about that.
I know, because like there's going to be a lot to unpack. Especially when it comes to like commercials and stuff, because so much of that stuff is just like not archived, and people don't remember it because you intentionally block out that kind of stuff, right? So there's this sort of like sickening, decaying of nostalgia going on now. Especially a lot of these YouTubers who talk about Disney Channel just want to say, "Remember Thing? Now give me 100,000 views, please." But one of the smaller problems of that is that we don't critically analyze and understand what these shows actually meant for the time and what they mean talking about them now in the modern day. What it means is that a lot of this stuff was bad and unremarkable. And I think that speaks a lot more to TV and how it was kind of like a failed project. It wasn't as good as it should have been, and streaming is not a good replacement for it either. But there was a lot of flaws that needed to be fixed about television. And I think the Disney Channel original movie in its 118 movie glory is a very good example of that.
And something that I also hope is really obvious is the fact that while I do agree there are a lot of flaws that should have been fixed, overall, I love television and I love everything that the Disney Channel was able to do for television at the time. It is a very complicated matter to handle, and I think having a nuanced discussion about these things is a lot more important. And also, I want to take these pieces of media seriously, because to take them seriously and to review them as actual movies is to validate them in their existence. And I think making a cheap video just for a quick buck is a way of diminishing the quality and the value that the artists who worked on these films put into their work at the end of the day. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I'd rather take the problems that came with cable television than the problems we have nowadays with streaming. I feel like we're in a very awkward, tempestuous time for media, specifically television media, and I'm very curious to see where we're going to go from here.
So there's the point, right? I made a point, didn't I? Okay, I'm ready to be done now. I want to stop now. I want to stop talking about Disney Channel original movies. Don't make me talk about them again, okay? Okay, that's a lie. I have actually a few plans for other scripts for Disney Channel original movies. Tell me your favorite Disney Channel original movie in the comments below, although I have a feeling you already have, because usually when people get to the certain point in the video where they see one that they like, they comment and then they leave for the day, which is fine. Like, you're valid for doing that. If you're playing Subway Surfers right now, you're also valid for that. Subscribe because I have to say that. Like the video because I have to say that. I don't want to, guys. They're forcing me to. They're gonna kill me. I didn't know you guys were gonna do that when I said it. I got a bunch of finger guns pointed at me. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. This is probably the biggest and longest video I'm ever going to make, unless, I don't know, I finally decide to put all my bad videos together into like a 15-hour compilation. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Look at my finger. Sorry.
Were you just recording? I mean, that's the end of the video. Just like after the outro, just like
look at my finger. Me delaying the inevitable. I want to do literally anything else but talk about the end of this video.